Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Happy Thursday. Happy pre-Friday. Happy pre-weekend. You can hear it in my voice. I'm starting to get a little bit under the weather. Full disclosure, my son has come in direct contact with his chess coach who tested positive for COVID-19. We're hoping we don't have it. We'll start testing later today, tomorrow morning. We are here gathered to celebrate the greatness of DeJounte Murray as we ask the question that I put out there and was mocked. Is DeJounte Murray the best player on the Hawks? Yes. We talk about six men of the year, Russell Westbrook. Yes. And we talk about Doc. Is Doc out of Philly next after we see Steve Nash parting ways with the Brooklyn Nets? We'll discuss that. Look, hey, it's a great morning, and I need you to make it even better. Do me the favor, like and retweet the tweet that's up there. That's our newsletter. And we are building this from the ground up. A lot of people wanted me to do this last year. We just weren't ready. Now we are. If you go there, you will get all the recaps. You get the top 5 performers. Now you are starting to get content from Hoop Spaces creators. Shout out Justin Patton, JP, the franchise. Shout out Edwin Garcia, E Creates. They are now up here listed under. That's right, the Hoop Spaces creator spotlight. Mark Cuban's interview is also up here with C. Hendo, a friend of the show. Make sure you tap in to that newsletter. I mean, I'm telling you, it's going to be exactly what you need. You're going to watch 1 or 2 games, maybe miss out everything. We got you covered. I'll be back in 20. Good morning. All right. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning, everybody. If you want a mic, go ahead and, request it. I'm going to get you guys up one at a time to fill the stage. I see Jay the Wakandan, Nothing But Heat, Bonkai, and Micah already ready to go. Shout out Tony Schwartz, NBA. Shout out Jose of 77 Spaces. And shout out, the Miami Heat and Tyler Hero, who I'm telling you, a lot of people just don't want to give the respect to. And that's a shame. It really is. Dude's doing good stuff. All right, bringing the people up here that you want to hear in the morning. We'll get the good mornings out of the way first, and we'll dive into a great day of basketball. We will open up with the person who came in first, and that's Bonkai. Bonkai, good morning.
Bad morning, Chris. Bad morning. Um, Good morning to the rest of you, but bad morning for me. Um, I'm eating my crow. I don't know what the fuck happened last night. It's like the Hawks rolled out the zone defense, and one, I get we don't have the greatest shooting in the world, but bro, they look like little kids who had never seen a zone defense in their lives before. What does Tibbs make them do in practice? What? This guy needs to go. He's got to go. That's it. I'm done.
we'll get into that for sure. Ladies and gentlemen, if you don't know, the Knicks and Hawks did battle last night. I thought the Knicks were going to win. I thought they were going to be able to pull it out. And for a long part of the game, I was just smiling. I was like, man, really like being right. And then all of a sudden, as Bankai just stated, it's as if they all forgot how to shoot the basketball. It was hilarious. Jay, the Wakanda Tech Support, good morning.
Good morning, Chris. I know this is early, but we need to free Jabari Smith from the Houston Rockets.
Don't
Yes.
start.
No,
Don't
we
start.
don't.
No,
They're turning him into Cleveland Kevin Love when he should be Minnesota Kevin Garnett.
stop it. He's a rookie. He's a rookie on the young T. What do you expect?
So is Paulo. I expect for him to be featured.
Why would he be featured when they have 2 players who right now play better than Kevin Porter Jr. and Jalen Green? Just a question.
Because the way Jalen Green and Porter play is not sustainable.
Yeah, I'll give you that. That's a good point. Jay the Wakandan, first on the board with the point. JFK, good morning.
Morning, Chris, man. Just here making sure Tyler Hero gets his respect today.
and making sure that these Heat reporters, have respect for this team and what they've been doing. We don't need to hear about Tyler Hero coming off the bench. All right, we're doing just fine for what it is. Max Strus for Sixth Man of the Year, Chris.
Not going to give you a point for the Max Strus Sixth Man of the Year. I think he ends up starting. But I'm actually a huge Max Strus fan. Like, I really am. I think he is exactly what you thought Duncan Robinson was going to be. We'll go to Micah next. Micah, good morning.
Good morning to you, Chris. How are you doing this morning?
I'm here. I'm not going to lie. I feel worn down. From what I understand, like, that could be the first sign of COVID, but then, like, it could also be that I just watched 7 basketball games in a 10-hour period.
Well, we can all hope. I went through the COVID not too long ago. Yeah, that's kind of the first thing that happens is you start losing a lot of energy. So.
All right, well, say good morning. I got a couple more people, and then we're going to get into some of the games last night and get everybody's takeaways. We've got JB and Scott still to go, but good morning, Mike, and tell good morning to the people down below.
Good morning, everybody. It's a great day to talk hoops.
Always a great day. It is. It is always a great day to talk hoops, even when you feel bad, because it makes you feel better. Up next, we'll go to Scott. Nothing but net. Nothing but heat. What's up, Scott? How you doing this morning?
It's a good morning. How you feeling today, Chris? And always, thank you for having me on and helping me get through all these closed captions to follow everything that goes on with all these beautiful mans inside these spaces every day.
Well, thank you for those kind words, and I know that you are extremely happy with last night's performance. We'll get into that in a moment. We're going to open up with the JB rant segment. Normally, he comes in about 10, 15 minutes a little bit later, and I like it. What he did yesterday was phenomenal. If I had the energy, I would have cut it out and put it out there on Twitter or Instagram, which, by the way, if you are up here and you are providing content, and you want to use the recording, you just reach out to the DM and say, hey, do I have permission? I'm more than likely going to give you permission as long as you tag me correctly. JB Fortis, host of NFL NBA Now, 8 a.m. in the morning. Come in and get your sports therapy and hear a crazy man scream into the ether of the sports world. JB, good morning. What you got for us?
Good morning, Chris. I'm sorry to hear that you're feeling bad with COVID, or hopefully not COVID. Maybe it's just watching 7 NBA games. I think that my rant that I wrote for you today will help you feel better. One of the things that Hoop Spaces has shown me or has helped me with is it helps me recognize with all the people that you've brought up here, especially Gifted, that NBA history is filled with tropes and storylines that we depend on as seasons and decades shift. Team tropes like the Celtics and Lakers dynasty or the James Dolan era, they trickle through the players and the evolutions of different kinds of big men, from Bill Russell to Shaquille O'Neal to Kumpo. We recognize as members of this hoop space community the change, evolution, and themes. And nevertheless, we as fans cling to history. We remember Kyrie Irving's finals shot that he made 6 years ago, or the moments like when John Wall was healthy, while denying the present all the while. Normally, I live in the now and I don't cling to history as a proof of concept of anything. But yesterday, I found myself super upset at the Boston Celtics and Brad Stevens for so severely disrespecting their team history. And I'm upset at Brad Stevens specifically today for disrespecting the Celtics' history of fucking the Brooklyn Nets. Since the Nets' inception, Danny Ainge copulated the Brooklyn Nets in the Kevin Garnett trade that landed the Celtics, Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. The Celtics did it again when they saddled Vice President of the Player Association, Kyrie Irving, on the back of the Nets with a max contract for comfort after he called out that same Giannis on a switch in the playoffs. Celtics GM Brad Stevens again turned this trick when he hired 2021 Eastern Conference NBA Finals head coach representative Ime Udoka off of the Brooklyn Nets staff to be the head coach of the Celtics. And I thought that there was a league-wide understanding that the Nets will never put up any resistance whenever the Celtics need to roll over and get out a quickie when the Nets were swept in last year's Eastern Conference playoffs by these very same Celtics. So yesterday, I could only surmise that Brad Stevens was visiting slamgoods.com to find a new big man and using the promo code HoopSpace 15% off of anything on the site instead of getting compensation from the Nets team for hiring Udoka back. Instead of paying attention to the history and doing his duties to the Brooklyn Nets as the Boston Celtics general manager. I clung too close to history, like a Clippers fan who still believes that Kawhi Leonard of the Clippers is the same Kawhi Leonard of the Raptors. And for that, I can only say thank you to Twitter and Twitter Spaces and Hoop Spaces for allowing me and all of us the opportunity to talk and reflect and seek the same consensual therapy that Ime Udoka found with a Celtics employee. And I wish Ime Udoka all the same success with the Nets and their female employees. Thanks for letting me come on up.
All right, there you go, ladies and gentlemen. Give him a round of applause to JB Morning Rant. You can find him on NBA and NFL Now at 8 a.m. here on Twitter Spaces. This Ime Udoka story is bad. You know what? I'm going to tell you something that I've only kept in the group chat. Like, I have been going back and forth since yesterday morning about whether or not I'm going to apply for the Nets PR job, because it is eminently clear that they have zero direction in terms of messaging right now, and it's bad. And you know what? When you have Shaq come out and publicly excoriate your second best player, that Newport Nets pack is just hitting a little different. All right. Hey, good morning, everybody. Shout outs to everybody who makes this a phenomenal show. That's you, the listener. I'm going to hit this button because it's now, as JB already did in his open rant, it's time to give a read here. And we are brought to you by our sponsors of Slam Goods. Slamgoods.com is the website. It's part of the Slam Online Network, ladies and gentlemen. Head over there and show your passion of basketball and show your passion and want of support for us here on Hoop Spaces. You can buy anything on that website at slamgoods.com and use promo code Hoop Spaces. You will save money. It's like putting money in your pocket. And like, I was driving yesterday and I saw this real cool thing. It was one of these Kona, Hawaii shaved ice stands. Like, not the truck, but just the stand. And because we had a warm day yesterday and I really wanted to stop, but I did not have, the cash. But if I went to slamgoods.com and used promo code HoopSpaces and I saved 15% on this Slam to the World hoodie, I would have had enough cash saved to go buy me one of these Kona Hawaiian ices. Those things are dope, by the way. Shout out Hawaiian Ice. All right, we had a full slate of games. Look, ladies and gentlemen, this is going to take a second, and here we go. The Washington Wizards beat the Philadelphia 76ers 121-111 without Joel Embiid, but we asked the question, is Doc Rivers out of Philly next? The Cavs beat the Celtics in a phenomenal overtime matchup with the return of Darius Garland, 114-113. The Heat beat the Kings on a game-winning shot by Tyler Hero, and it's time. It is time, ladies and gentlemen, to just be quiet. If you can't just say, you know what, I was wrong about Tyler Hero and he can ball, just don't say anything because he was hooping. 110-107 game winner, Tyler Hero. The Knicks, I mean, it was going great. We're going to get to Bankai. It was going awesome. And then it wasn't. And it's because of DeJounte Murray. And I asked that question yesterday. And people were, saying I was trolling. I wasn't trolling. I've been on this for like 5 years. DeJounte Murray is a phenomenal NBA player. 112-99 Hawks over the Knicks. The Bulls beat the Hornets in the game that nobody even knew was on. 106-88. It was not even a contest. The Clippers beat the Rockets 109-101, and this is what's bringing out Jay the Wakandan tech support. His desire to see Jabari Smith, go to a team that's going to feature him. The Pistons get washed by the Bucks 116-91. The Raptors, 143-100 over the Spurs. Although, to be fair, the Spurs did not have Keldon Johnson or Devin Vassell. The Jazz lose to the Mavericks 103-100. And I know Mavericks fans might be happy with the win. Mavericks fans, I don't think, are happy with how the season has started, nor are they happy with a couple of players on their squad. primarily JaVale McGee, who only saw 8 minutes last night. And the tide has turned. Sugar, what was it? Sugar Glider Island is getting pretty bare, as Mr. Green still is yet to really cap a 20-minute performance with significant production. We'll get into that with some Mavs fans. Also, last night, word coming out that one of the top recruits is leaving the Donda Academy, signing with the Overtime Elite. We'll get into that. Grizzlies beat the Trailblazers 111-106. And then the Lakers, ladies and gentlemen, are featuring who may be the sixth man of the year coming off
You're
the
talking
bench.
about a Kentucky familiar recruit. Let's clarify.
I am. I'll get there. And the Lakers beat the Pelicans in overtime 120-117 behind the phenomenal bench production of Russell Westbrook and the combined strength of Anthony Davis and LeBron James. Whew, that was a lot. All right, if you're down below and you can't come up, that's cool, right? There is a chat box. Make sure you hop into that chat box and say what's up to the wonderful people of Hoop Spaces, the community. We will open up with JB as his hands are up, and then we will go ahead and dive in. We're going to open up with the Celtics and Cavs, too, so this works for JB. We got a phenomenal game. I am fortunate that I was able to trade for Donovan Mitchell and Darius Garland for my fantasy team. So I'm extremely happy. Here's what the duo did together. And this is something that I think is going to make a lot of people very nervous in the Eastern Conference. They put up 54 combined points with 18 assists and 9 rebounds. And they shot, ladies and gentlemen, 20 for 47. So they're shooting about 43% as a duo. And that is a phenomenal pairing. And we're going to go ahead and jump into this because there's a couple things that Boston did that is not Boston-esque. And there's still a question that hasn't been answered, and it is who is going to be Al Horford's backup for real. All right, JB, go ahead. Break down this game. Go ahead. You're up.
It was an awesome game to begin with. It was really epic, and there were many instances that I felt the Boston Celtics actually should have won that game. And I'm not saying that as like a Boston Celtics fan. I'm saying that as a person who saw the Jared Allen foul on the way down the dunk. I'm speaking about a team that scored 30. How many points was it? 35, something like that in the fourth quarter. It was something bonkers. They were killing in the fourth quarter in terms of that ferocious comeback. I will agree with you about the Darius Donovan Mitchell backcourt, but also remind you of what you said earlier about Darius Garland and Donovan Mitchell, which is that they do a lot of the same things. Doesn't mean that they're bad. Doesn't mean that they suck. It means that when teams stop you from doing the same thing and you need a facilitator, will either of those players be able to? Against the Celtics last night, they were able to, right? Against the Celtics last night, they were able to initiate the offense and they were able to play off. It does beg a little bit of the question of why aren't we seeing this matchup a little bit later? Why are these two teams only meeting like these two times and literally not for the rest of the season? Like literally, this is the last time they see it. I want to see these two teams match up when Robert Williams is around. That's what I want. But I'm not going to get my wish. And for right now, as we sit here talking on this beautiful November 3rd, 2022, we're left with this idea that the Cavaliers may be like a top 3 seed or a top 4 seed. And then where does that put them? Where does that put them in the real hierarchy? I'm a little I worry that the Cavaliers are a little top heavy, but I really don't want to take anything away from them. I think they're really, really good. I do think they're going to have the size to compete with like a Milwaukee. I like Jared Allen. And assuming health, I think that was a major problem. What did you see, Hoops? Do you agree with my breakdown? Do you think that I'm way off?
No, I agree with most of it. I think, and I've said before, that I want to see Cleveland play through Evan Mobley if they're going to play Donovan Mitchell and Darius Garland. But last night, what you saw was that Donovan Mitchell, he deferred to Darius Garland as the primary facilitator. And Darius Garland, it's his team. 29 points, 12 assists, and 5 rebounds, and the predominant facilitation in the second half. I think that what Donovan Mitchell is going to try to do is actually not try to be the CJ McCollum to Darius Garland's Damian Lillard. But like what I actually see is Donovan Mitchell's kind of going back in time and trying to be more of the Joe Dumars to Darius Garland's Isaiah Thomas.
I like that. I would also say one more thing. I'll touch on your point just very quickly, and then I will shut up because I don't want to stay on this too long. But first, to your point, I agree with you. In the second half, it definitely looked like Darius Garland was more of a facilitator, and the stats back that up, right? 5 rebounds, 12 assists. In the first half, I really do. At least I saw them trying to figure that out. Them trying to figure out how do we distribute, how do we like play off each other. I also thought Caris LeVert was phenomenal in this game, but I don't think the Celtics have the size to hang with the Cleveland Cavaliers, to hang with Milwaukee. I think that you're in trouble if you're going to be playing Al Horford 40 minutes a game. And I don't think, I'll go another step further, I don't think you can play Al Horford and Burnett on the court at the same time. I think they're not, I don't think that's viable. So if I'm the Celtics, I'm looking for any significant big man, whether that means trading Peyton Pritchard, whether it means getting rid of Noah Vonleh, whether it means, like Blake Griffin is not the answer either. I know the answer that all Celtics fans want is Jakob Poeltl, but I think the answer that most Celtics fans might get might be someone along the lines of a Boogie Cousins or a Derek Favors. What do you say to that? Do you think they have the size? I heard you ding, so I imagine you agree with that.
Yeah, they don't have the size, and they don't really have, unless somebody wants to take Grant Williams, they don't have the assets beyond a first-round pick. And San Antonio wants 2 firsts for Jakob. And I don't think Boston's going to be able to get Jakob. I would, if I was Boston, I would literally be looking out west, and I'd be looking at one of 3 players, right? The Portland Trailblazers have a power forward who's still injured. He's coming back. His name is Trendon Watford, and I think he's going to get some burn. So there's a couple of bigs that might pop off, like Eubanks out of Portland. He only signed a 1-year contract extension, and I thought he was going to be a perfect fit for Boston. You have Jake Landale in Phoenix, who also was from the Spurs. And then on the Spurs, instead of Jakob Poeltl, I think your answer is more likely there. And that's Zach Collins. I think those 3 are probably the targets that Brad Stevens is looking at due to the fact that he kind of spent all of his capital on White last year and Brogdon in the offseason.
But you're Brad Stevens. Don't you feel like Peyton Pritchard is better than, like, talent-wise, just straight up talent-wise? Don't you feel that maybe Zach Collins is sort of equal to Peyton Pritchard, but wouldn't you feel kind of like outraged, or are you just focused solely on this year's team and how we're going to get through this season?
I do it one season at a time. Like the only time that you plan out for multiple seasons is the off-season planning process. But once you're in the season, and if you want to compete, all you focus on until you no longer have a chance of winning is competing. And I don't think necessarily you're wrong with the talent equation here, or the talent comparison between Peyton Pritchard and Zach Collins. But the San Antonio Spurs don't need Peyton Pritchard, so they don't want Peyton Pritchard. So you're going to have to give them a first because you have nobody else. And shout out to Luke Cornett, though. Vanderbilt, career leaders in blocks, man. Love it.
Very quickly, shout out to everybody. At some point, I'll have something to say about the Knicks when you go back to Bankai, but yeah.
Oh yeah, Bankai's getting ready for that music. I can feel it. I can feel his energy as he's probably walking one of his lovely huskies, looking up into the sky, wondering what happened. All right, anybody else want to hop in here with Boston and Cleveland? Now's the time. Wow, nobody watched this? Man, that kind of hurts my feelings. This was like the second best game of the night. No lie. All right. Dang. Hurt my feelings already. First game up, we only have one person. All right. Well, we need to work on that. It's hard getting Cavs fans up here. I ain't gonna lie. Like they don't really participate. I think they feel they're gonna have the rug swept out of them. However, I will say this: I see Cleveland Cavaliers fans being like this year's Hawks fans from when the Hawks went to the Eastern Conference Finals. So they're gonna start getting rowdy, similar to what the Pelicans did. Hey, you can thumbs down all you want, Cash. It's the truth. All right, next game up. My beloved 76ers lost to the Washington Wizards without Joel Embiid. Tyrese Maxey is phenomenal. And once again, I get to play this button. Oops, wrong one. Yeah, that was my bad. That's better. Ladies and gentlemen, Tyrese Maxey is here. I tried to tell you. You didn't want to listen. Tyrese Maxey needs the ball in his hand. He and James Harden play the same position. After another phenomenal game, are you ready to listen to me about Tyrese Maxey? Because he is the engine that drives the 76ers. And although Embiid's health is the most important thing, without Tyrese Maxey, we don't win. It's that simple. All right, we'll get to Cash first. We'll bring Scott in here so he can wax poetic about the University of Kentucky product Tyrese Maxey. But first, Cash, go ahead. We lost. Questions up there. Doc Rivers out of Philly next. What do you think?
Doc Rivers is the worst coach in the NBA.
That is simply not true. Doc Rivers is a great coach. Top 15 all time. What'd you think of the game?
I mean, look, man. Tyrese Maxey again, man. Just killing them. I mean, Paul Reed, we got to see him. I don't know why Doc beefing with him. We won't put Paul Reed in the game. We go on a nice run with him. Harden, sad to see him going down and whatever. Yeah, I mean, what do? You know, can't stop Porzingis. Bradley Beal go off. Matisse is on the bench. Shit is crazy, man. Shit is crazy. He's one of the worst coaches I've ever seen. Ever. Like, I think he's supremely overrated. Like, I've seen him waste Paul George talent in his prime, Chris Paul in his prime, T-Mac in his goddamn prime too. He just, like, now you wasted Tyrese Maxey and B and Harden in his wonder years. Like, he's trying to win a ring. Like, this is serious. I see Brooklyn made the move, and I'm a little bit jealous. Other than that, Maxey had a better game than Mitchell. Yeah, more points than Morant. I think it's safe to say that Tyrese Maxey and Pascal Siakam are better than LeBron James at this point. Hope they understand. That's it.
All right, the poll is up there, ladies and gentlemen. Do me the favor, like and retweet and vote, because the question is Doc Rivers the next coach to be sacked? And the correct answer is he's a great coach. All right, that's the correct answer if you're wanting to know. All right, Scott, hop up in here. Let's wax poetically about the Kentucky product, Tyrese Maxey. 32 points, ladies and gentlemen, 4 assists, 11 from 20, 5 for 9 from deep. And he is here to stay, and he played the most minutes in the game as well. It's Tyrese's world. What's the ceiling, Scott? What do you think?
Maxey is just one of those unheralded players. I mean, you know, he's starting to get his flowers right now, but he's one of those unheralded players that if you look at him, he takes every single play to heart. The guy just wants to win. Every shot that goes up, it means something to him. He's just got that work ethic. He's just got that basketball gene inside of him, and he just wants to win. But, you know, he's struggling against James Harden and Joel Embiid to find his spot, to find his shot, to find his identity on their team. And that's still a concern to me. You keep talking about James Harden and Tyrese Maxey overlapping in terms of talent skills. But yet again, I think they're actually two different types of players. I just think Maxey is all heart. And if the 76ers did this up right, they're going to ride his back and let him become the face of the Sixers down the road.
I agree 100%. I've been trying to say it. Like when you watched in the preseason, it was apparent to me. In the opening of the season, I started saying Tyrese Maxey and James Harden now play the same position. Doc Rivers' sole job is to figure out how to develop Tyrese Maxey while being able to play him next to James Harden. And because they both play the same position, which is a lead facilitating driving kick guard, neither one of them, even though they can shoot threes, are going to be like sitting up there like Klay Thompson, you know, waiting to unload. And I think what we'll see is without Embiid, will look very much like the the Portland Trailblazers with Damian Lillard and CJ McCollum, which can work, but only if you have the rebounding and defense. And last night they didn't. Kyle Kuzma, 18 points. Bradley Beal, 29. Kristaps Porzingis, 30. And you had a bad game when Kristaps Porzingis can go post-game and say, quote, they had to switch up the style, but they are also good playing this way and playing off pick and roll. But you have to watch it because the look in his face was just saying they suck. And here we go. All right, JB, your hand was up. Thoughts on the Wizards and
It's
Sixers?
crazy. We just beat them the other night.
Right? But hey, we live in a reactionary world. JB, hop in here, and anybody else who wants to talk Sixers, now's the time. Sean, go ahead, JB.
No, my bad. I'll wait. I'm sorry.
No, I was just saying Sean with the W is joining us here on stage.
Okay. All I have to say is that no, Doc Rivers doesn't need to be fired. He needs to answer the age-old question that we've been answering since we've been at the beginning of the season. What do you do with Tobias Harris? Figure out a way to get him involved in the offense, whatever it has to be, whether he has to come off the bench, whether he has to stretch the floor. Like, he's just not getting, all the way with you, bad guy, on the idea that you need to run the offense, Tyrese Maxey, that he kicks ass, all the way in. Still, what do you do about Tobias Harris? Right now, there's just no significant role on the floor. As long as Tyrese Maxey, James Harden, and Joel Embiid there, he's just a bystander. That's it. That's all he does. And until there's an answer, there's nothing really extra to say about it.
All right. Just making me
Doc Rivers the one supposed to be having the answers.
Look, Doc Rivers is playing 37th dimensional chess. All right, you have to catch up to the game Doc Rivers is playing. Phenomenal.
Bro, we moving like Bobby Fischer, man. He needs to get on our level.
Anybody else want to hop in here real quick with the Sixers and the wonderful Washington Wizards? I want to give a shout out to Ahmed. We talked last night. It was a good win by the Wizards. Shout out to all you Wizards fans. Like Wayne Cole, another good shout out. All right, Bonkai, you want to hop in here and tread lightly on the grave of Doc Rivers? Is that what you're doing?
Yeah, I actually just wanted to point out the funny fact that you had two coaches who used to work closely together, and they won a championship ring together, and now it seems like they can't adjust with the times, and they're coaching very poorly to start this season, and I feel like both of them are on the hot seat very much.
Well, I've already said this in a couple of chats. There's a power struggle going on in Philly right now. There's a new minority owner who's also bankrolling the development of the new downtown arena, and you have a general manager in Elton Brand, a president of operations in Daryl Morey, and a head coach in Doc Rivers, who all at one point in time seem to have the inside track of having the biggest voice in the room. And now, as we see the next phase of Sixers ownership getting ready to plan for the future, the question is this the last year that this iteration of the Sixers will be around? And I think so. And I think what we're going to see going into the season, halfway into the season, it's gonna get ugly if the Sixers are struggling. We've got Cash up here. Damo has joined us. Sean with the W has joined us. If you're down below, if you could do us the favor, the very, very, very first tweet is the Hoop Spaces review. And by the way, I'm settling on the new name, and I think you'll like it. It's a real. The problem that I have with consuming basketball information is you got to go to a lot of places to get what you want. And what I'm trying to do is create something where you don't have to go everywhere, where you can just get in your email, and if you miss out, you can just open it, catch up on everything, as well as get great insight from content creators here in the Hoop Spaces family. It's absolutely free. If you could just do me the favor, like and retweet, and if you haven't subscribed, hit the subscription button, put an email in there. It helps us. Sean, hop up in here. We'll get ready to move to the Knicks after your take of the Sixers' woeful ways under Doc Rivers.
I didn't watch a minute of the Sixers-Wizards game because I was too busy watching my team piss down their leg at Madison Square Garden. But I will say this. Something has to give. I think you have said that it is a power struggle going against Philadelphia. I think you're right. I think there is something to the. I think there's something to the idea that Doc is like, you want me to play these guys? You want to be the 2019 Rockets? Here, look at the 2019 Rockets are doing. So something got to change. But it'll be all good for you guys because you guys have the get right game coming on Friday night at Wells Fargo Center against my New York Knicks.
Yeah, and speaking of those New York Knicks, we went into the close of yesterday's show. I thought the Knicks would have a chance to win, and going into the half, they looked good. And then the 2020 2021, right, or is it the 2021 Knicks showed up in the third quarter, putting up a paltry 10 points and allowing 32, and being terrorized by one player, DeJounte Murray, who I said in a tweet, and I want everybody's opinion on this, that he's better than Trae Young. He is the best player on the Hawks, and I want people to tell me how I'm wrong, because I don't think I am. Sean, go ahead and start breaking down this game. We'll bring in Bonkai as well. We've got Mikey Kabrinsky, diehard Atlanta Hawks fan, up here as well. Michael wants to get in. It's going to be a great convo. Sean, go ahead.
Good morning. I think the DeJounte is better than Trae talk is still nasty. Trae is arguably the best offensive player in the league. Now, he's also arguably the worst defensive player in the league. DeJounte Murray is a mid-3. Whatever, who cares? Let's talk about the game. If you were in the spaces I were in last night, I shared a lot of thoughts. I pulled up the Hawksman TV and I said my piece, and I was in the Knicks lounge. Shout out to Mo, Cassius, and Smooth. And, look, I was at the game, and I was sitting next to Cedric, and I said, it was 7 minutes left. I said, yo, Ced, the Hawks have 28 points halfway through the second. I'm like, we're kicking their ass, which didn't really surprise you because we have beat them 8 of the last 10 regular season games. And then the wheels fell off. It's not that, and if you follow other Knicks fans, and you see the complaints last night, it's not that we lost because we are a cacophony of mid, and we always knew that. Last night was supposed to be a mid-off. It's how we lost, and it's the fact that we blew another double-digit lead. We were up 23 points halfway through the third and lost by 13. With Trae Young going 7 of 22 in 28 minutes. How does that happen? I know how that happens. 2 reasons. 1, we don't have a star. We know that. 2, we have a head coach who is completely inflexible and does the same shit over and over again and expects a different result. We have a player who we drafted 8th overall in 2020 that we do not play more than 12 minutes a game because the head coach is more enamored of what he cannot do than what he can do. Julius Randle is 6 of 25 from 3 this season. RJ Barrett is shooting, I believe he's shooting 21% from 3. I have a tweet somewhere. I'll put it up in there. I'll look for it. Again, it's not that we lost, it's how we lost. We need better. There's a lot of people whining about. So the funny thing is now a lot of Knicks fans are whining about how we didn't trade for DeJounte Murray. And I'm like, DeJounte was never coming to New York. Shut the hell up. Yes, here we go. RJ Barrett is 7 of 32 from 3 for 21%. No, 22% if you round up from 3. Julius Randle is 6 of 25 from 3 this season at 24%. You cannot have your arguably 2 of your 3 best players shooting under 25% from 3. And I defended RJ Barrett against millions of ass clowns who thought he was garbage. I thought people like Tyler Hero would play him because he snarled in a YMCA in Orlando in 2020. With that being said, I need better from him. I think there are so many excuses that are made. I think he's a bit coddled. And again, we coddled him because everyone decided that he was trash from day one. If Julius Randle is as ass as you think he is, take the team from him. Say, you know what? I'm the captain now. This is bullshit. Get out of my way. Let's go. And he hasn't done that. And yes, I do believe that you will not see the best of RJ Barrett as long as he plays next to Julius Randle, who have played more minutes together than like the amount of minutes they played together is ridiculous, because at some point we should see like they're both redundant and do the same thing. And since you drafted this dude third overall in 2019, maybe you should try to see what happens if you center the team solely around him and his skill set, along with the dude that you picked eighth overall in 2020. You know, most teams, if you have picks 3 and 8 in consecutive years, you say, you know what? Let me build around these guys or see what these guys are about. Yet this front office decided to go the other way and say, let's try and fit these guys into what we're trying to do. So that is the frustrating part about it. I don't mind losing if you predict 45 wins, that you predict 37 losses. It doesn't even bother that we lost to the Hawks, whatever, who cares? It's the way we lost. It was Groundhog Day at MSG. And I think now you're starting to see, listen, we play the Sixers Friday. That could be a loss. We play, and then we play Boston at home. Do you see the same shit? It's going to get toxic in there. You're not going to see control toxicity. You're going to see unmatched levels of toxicity in New York if they get their ass kicked or if they blow another lead. Thank you. Thank you for your time.
Yeah, let me get Bankai in here. Bankai opened up the show with a very somber good morning. Bankai, you still with us? I hope that you are not, continually drowning yourself in tears of a 10-point third quarter. It's rough out here in these streets. Bankai, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm still here. Shout out to Sean. Shout out to Keenan and the audience and the Hawk fans who were on live from the Mecca. I'm not going to take any credit away from the Hawks. They had a shitty-ass first half, but DeJounte Murray actually propelled them to a very good win. And once Nate McMillan switched to that zone, to the zone defense mid-second quarter, late second quarter, that was pretty much all she wrote for the Knicks. I don't know what happened. They pissed their pants. Like, I know me and Sean were talking about the zone last night. And yeah, you need better shooting and stuff, but to be so affected by a zone defense that it looks like you've never practiced against it before, and it takes your defensive energy and your effort on all fronts of the game is absolutely mind-boggling. You would have thought it was the greatest zone ever. I don't know what Thibodeau is doing with these guys in practice. And I don't really like to mention the whole firing of coaches thing, but I think his time here is up. I think he has to go. He's very rigid. He's outdated. He barely shows any flexibility during games. His offensive schemes are outdated as hell, and he just has to go. It's done. I'm ready for a new coach to take over and try to implement something fresh, something new with this team. I get it that we don't have the greatest talent in the world, but I still want to see what a new head coach can do with this team, to be honest, because I just feel like Tibbs' time is up here. It's done.
I've got a coach for you.
No, not Doc Rivers.
I've got a coach for you.
I was going to say.
Who? Quinn Snyder?
Nope.
Well, I thought that's what you were going to say.
Nah, man. I've got the coach for you.
Who is
Don't say Pringles.
Cassell.
David Fizdale needs to make a return.
Chris,
listen, fuck yourself.
I don't know how many people have agreed with you on it. I don't know how many people have agreed with you on it, but I don't know if it's that far-fetched that maybe DeJounte is a little bit better than Trey just because DeJounte plays both ends of the floor like very well. And
yes.
He showed that last night. Like he to me he's a triple-double threat on any given night, to be honest.
Give me more DeJounte.
And I'm not trying to disrespect Trae Young at all because he's a really, really good basketball player. But I just feel like DeJounte is a little bit more complete on all ends of the floor, especially when he's hitting his shots. So,
Give me more DeJounte and bring back the fizz.
I can't believe you're going to make me cape for Trae Young.
Listen. I'll end up with this. Fire Tibbs, get rid of Evan Fournier, bro. Like, for a defensive-minded coach who built his career around defense and schemes and being solid on defense and holding players accountable on that end, it boggles my mind how he continues to start Evan Fournier and give him meaningful minutes when he's not doing anything out there on the floor. Like, when this guy's not scoring or hitting threes, he's absolutely useless.
On December 6, 2019, David Fizdale was fired by the Knicks after a 4-18 start. It's time to bring back the Fizz. And it's time to go to Mikey Krasinski to talk some positive, uplifting news for the Atlanta Hawks as DeJounte Murray puts in another game that helps my propaganda. And if you haven't seen it, it's up there. Is DeJounte Murray the best player on the Hawks? Shocking answer, yes. Mikey Krasinski, good morning. Congratulations on the victory. What you got?
Yeah, good morning. Obviously exciting win last night. I mean, it was a Knicks, so it's not like it's anything to like brag or boast about, but it's just the way that we won the game. We were down, I think, what was it, maximum of about 23 points in the first half. But honestly, and I was telling Benkai Sean this last night, we really didn't change anything we were doing on the offensive end in the first half. We were getting the looks we wanted. We missed so many open shots, and the Hawks are in the shooting slump right now. We just got over the 50% from, I believe, from the field line today, which for 3-point shooting, we're just over the midline for 3-point attempts per 100 possessions now. So we've been taking a lot of mid-range shots, and it's been working for the most part. But against teams with length like the Raptors, which is why we struggled against them, we were getting open shots, we just weren't hitting them. And in the second half, they fell finally. And the zone, I completely agree with Benkai. When you have guys like DeJounte Murray, Justin Holiday, Aaron Holiday, DeAndre Hunter, Onyeka Okongwu, these guys with the length, the long wingspan to take away the passing lanes is huge. And while Trae Young was injured in this game, I don't really think that we go to this zone if Trae Young's on the floor. And that's not me saying I don't think your propaganda is right, by the way, that Trae Young is better than DeJounte Murray. I don't think that's a question. But Trae not being on the floor definitely did help our zone. And we were able to honestly make the Knicks look like a high school team. There was no off-ball movement. There was no quick decision making, and everybody knows the Knicks can't cheat anybody out of the zone. So they were completely locked up, and the turnovers were what did them in, because DeJounte Murray had 6 steals, and he's just a menace on the defensive end.
It was corrected to 5.
Oh, it's 5. Okay.
Yep. And once again, I understand the love for Trae Young. I think Trae Young is a phenomenal player. But you just said that Trae Young is better than DeJounte Murray, yet you just said that they had to take Trae Young out to make the zone defense work.
No. That's true. We did not have to take Trae Young out. Trae Young was out because Julius Randle punched him in the eye, and he was basically blind for playing in the fourth quarter for like 3 minutes. He was out for almost 2 quarters of the game.
All right, I understand Hawks fans reticent to admit the superiority of DeJounte Murray over Trae Young. I will not be stopping this agenda. This agenda will continue to agenda, Sean, what the W would say. Hawks are 5-3. They're 3-2 in away games. Are you thinking that this is going to be what the Hawks are? Like the inconsistent team where one day you look dominant and the other day you look washed?
To me, no. I think we look really good. The only game we haven't looked good is the Raptors, and I know the Hornets game was bad as a result, but we're in the shooting slump. We still are, and that Hornets game that we just didn't play defense, which was kind of weird because we've been great defensively every single game except the Raptors game. I'll throw that out the window.
The Bucks game too.
We were great defensively.
You gave up 123 to the Bucks, man. How's that great?
It should have been 115 or 116, but in the last 23 seconds, they called an offensive foul, we fouled, and then we get a turnover for like 9 points in like whatever seconds. But
Right.
they're the Bucks. I mean, Giannis is that's not that bad. But for the Raptors, they're the worst matchup in the league for us. We have nobody who can guard Pascal Siakam. John Collins is too small. Clint Capella's too slow. We have nobody to guard Pascal Siakam. So the Raptors are just a bad matchup. But I feel like the shooting slump we're in right now, we're getting the open looks. And when they start falling, our offense is going to creep up. Our defense has been, I believe, top 10. I know it was before the Raptors game at least. So we'll see if that's still there. I haven't checked, but
All right.
I think this team is going to be really good. I don't know, like contending, but I don't think. I mean, every team is going to lose. You see, the Warriors are losing to the Hornets, to the Pistons. Like there are going to be those games where you lose to a tanking team, to a rebuilding team. But I think those are going to be few and far between for the Hawks this year, and it's going to change the mindset because DeJounte's here.
All right. One thing that hasn't been stated enough for the Hawks is the pace that they play in. They outshot the Knicks by 17. The Knicks, and it was mostly in that second half in the third quarter. But the Knicks, they can't afford to get 17 shots up, against the Hawks. It's too much.
That's also one other thing I want to just quickly mention is last year the Hawks were dead last in fast break points. This year we're averaging, I believe it's lower 20s in fast break points.
And who's responsible for that?
Yeah, it's DeJounte Murray.
DeJounte Murray. All right, appreciate it, Mikey. We're going to go to JB next. We've got Micah and JF and Damo as well. Thoughts here on Hawks Knicks. We also got Scott, Jay the Wakanda tech support. We have a new person up on stage, L Banks. What's up, L? It's good to see you. We ask that you shoot a follow to everybody up here on the stage, and I'll get you in on some 76ers talk once we clear the Knicks and Hawks, okay? All right. JB, you're up next. Then we'll go to Micah. We'll go JFK, Damo. We'll close out with Scott from Nothing But Heat. And then we'll go back to the Sixers real quick because another Sixers fan is up here on the stage, so I'm not alone. Appreciate it, everybody. Good morning.
I'm going to be really, really quick, but I have a message for all Knicks fans. Settle the fuck in. Not like normal fans where it's like, yeah, well, we're going to just be like riding up and down, and sometimes we're looking good and sometimes we're looking bad. With the Knicks, it's to an even greater extreme than it is to maybe any other team in the NBA. You knew that this was going to be the hard stretch. You knew this going in. You faced the Bucks, the Cavs, and the Hawks. You just heard me and Chris waxing poetic about the Cavaliers. Everybody in the room acknowledges that the Bucks are like one of the best teams in the NBA. And now you hear Chris saying that DeJounte Murray might be the best player on the Hawks, if not one of the best guards in the NBA. Like, this was going to be your really hard stretch. Next up, you've got the 76ers, the Celtics, and the Timberwolves. If you go 2-1 in that, what does that mean? I'll tell you what it means. It means that they can't guard and shut down Jalen Brunson. In 2 of the 3 games that I mentioned, the Bucks and the Hawks specifically dominated Jalen Brunson at the point of attack. You can see his assist numbers. In the game that you lost against the Cavaliers, you shot well, and that's why you were even in it, right? That was the whole point in the first place. So, like, Knicks fans more than any other fan base, right? It's going to be like a ride up and down, and you can't get too high and you can't get too low. But if you finish this season with 45 wins and you're in the playoffs, or you're 40 wins and you're like the 7 seed or the 6 seed or the 5 seed, that is a fuck of a lot better from where you were last year. So, like, buck up, Buttercup. Just strap yourself in, man. There's going to be a lot of days, but just know that for every DeJounte Murray night that you also have a D'Angelo Russell night coming up literally just in a little bit. Anytime that you're like sitting around going like, oh man, RJ Barrett had a bad game, just know that Ben Simmons is literally right across town for you to make. It's on the way.
Chris, if I may, though, like, do you want us to relax about the legit concerns that we have? Because there's legit concerns.
No, I want you to strap in. I want you to strap in. I don't want you to relax. I just want you to recognize that you're going to be going up and down and down and up like literally all season. Like all
Well, we know that. Most of us know that. That's a fact. Sean comes up and he talks about that all the time. I think Seth has been up here. He said that plenty of times. I've even said it. We're just voicing our concerns over legit concerns that can actually possibly get fixed ahead of time. Like
but
for example, Tibbs being gone,
I guess what
that can be fixed. Evan Fournier not starting anymore, that can be fixed. Things like that.
But I guess what I'm saying is that for every down as you get, just know that an up, it's particularly with this Knicks team, an up is coming right around the corner, man. But just as you know, like whenever you start to get too high, just know a down is coming right around the corner, right? This Knicks team, more than your standard team, where you're looking at like, oh, well, it's 40 wins, but we had this one streak that got us to 45. With the Knicks, it's going to be literally every single, week. We're going to have these great weeks where the Knicks win 3 in a row and they start to look good because they just topped the Pistons and the Magic and the Hornets. And then they're going to have 3 games where it's like, oh, it's the Bucks and the Cavs and the Hawks. And then they're going to have the 76ers and they might look good. Oh, and they have the Celtics and then they might look bad. Oh, but they got the Timberwolves, so it might look good. Like it's going to just happen all year long.
All right, let me get Micah in here. Micah, real quick, get 60 seconds in.
Man, real quick, Chris. I don't think it's crazy, man. real talk, because look, the dude was averaging damn near a triple-double last season while getting snubbed for a all-defense team they should have made. Like, he's giving it to you on both ends, and you're getting rebounds out of him, even though it's a guard. So you can see how that, and I'm looking at that mainly because I'm hoping that's something that my team would look for, because that prototype player, I think, is a lot better for our situation, in my opinion.
All right. Appreciate it. I'm going to get Jay the Wakanda tech support. I want Scott also to pop up in here, but we're running out of time on the Knicks. You will be able to continue this talk, though, because Knicks Chatter day after with I Am Halito, Cedric Shine, and I Hate Sean will be popping off at 12. I'm going to tell you now, it's going to be lively. It's going to be lively. Jay the Wakandan, hop up in here real quick. I do want to say there was a positive. There was a positive for the New York Knicks, ladies and gentlemen, and that is Emmanuel Quickley, 11 points, 16 boards, 4 assists, seemingly starting to really settle into that six-man role. And that is something that I honestly did not know if he was going to be able to do because he's a shooter. and sometimes shooters shoot and you don't want them to. And IQ can be that guy. But so far in the 7 games this year, and I've seen 5 completely, I've been thoroughly impressed with Emmanuel Quickley's development. So shout out IQ. All right, Jay the Wakandan, you're up next. And we're going to go ahead and move to Scott. We got JFK. And then we're going to talk some Sixers with the newest member up here on the stage. Thank you, everybody. Good morning.
Morning. Shout out to everybody in Hoop Spaces. Please retweet the show card. The problem with the Knicks is they have offensive principles. They don't have a system. They just kind of freelance every play. And what the Hawks decided to do was put DeJounte Murray on Jalen Brunson. And Jalen just does not have the physical tools to deal with that kind of on-ball defender. And so the Knicks, because they freestyle a lot, DeJounte just decided to pick pockets in the third quarter and become a one-man wrecking crew. I think DeJounte Murray is the better point guard, and I think he's the better player, although I do think Trae Young is the better talent, and I think that's what people are conflating. Um, and you see
That's
it,
fair.
like when they took Trae off the floor, the Hawks became energized on both sides of the ball because they know DeJounte is going to get them the ball, right? And I think that's what the Hawks need. And the other issue with the Knicks is Tibbs has to platoon RJ and Randall. Like RJ needs a section of time on the court where he's the guy, the ball is in his hand, and he's allowed to do his thing. He's not a spot up shooter. He's that's not what he worked on this summer. Um, and so that's the other issue with the Knicks is, and I've been saying this for like 2 years now. They need to hire Terry Stotts as a consultant So Tibbs can just focus on defense, and Terry Stotts can just design the offense. Um, because they need a system, not principles of we're going to set a pick here and we're going to hope Jalen Brunson makes a good decision, or we're going to clear out and we're going to let Julius ISO and hope something good comes out of it. Or if that doesn't work, we're going to throw RJ a grenade with 6 seconds on the shot clock and hope something good happens. Because when you put RJ in that position, that's how he doesn't hit open guys on fast breaks because he's not getting his in the flow of the offense.
All right, I kind of agree, and to that effect, let me add on. The Knicks are they're a team who seemingly have just collected a bunch of dudes, and why they seemingly have collected a bunch of dudes, they try to build a team behind that team to then take over for a bunch of dudes. The issue is like the bunch of dudes they got, they actually can perform very well, and so they've really just built themselves into mediocrity here. Bach, I'm going to get to you last so we can close that on the Knicks. JFK, 60 seconds. Knicks talk. Go.
Yeah, Chris. Look, Daniel Snyder's out. Now I'm moving on to Mark Davis as my new hated coach for NFL. Okay, Robert Sarver's out. Now I'm going to go right back to James Dolan. Okay, the Knicks are not going to be relevant until James Dolan is gone and out of that building. The way he disrespects Charles Oakley and that team by putting that roster together, knowing damn well you had Carmelo Anthony, Mon Shumpert, and JR moving the needle way more than this. Chris, we spent 20 minutes on a mediocre team. That's
mediocre.
Same thing. They're garbage, Chris. They're garbage. Poverty, whatever you want to call them, they're the Knicks, and they're always going to be the Knicks. Last time I was happy about them was when Melo played. Before that, when Patrick Ewing played. That's it. That's it.
That hurts, man. All right, I get it. Scott, 60 seconds when you see the caption in. Go ahead and go.
Yeah, I'm just catching up with all the captions here, but I just want to say New York Knicks had kind of a similar issue that the Sixers had with overlapping players. You got Harden and Maxey, but it's exponentially bigger. In the Knicks system with R.J. Barrett and Randall, neither one of them are actual perimeter scorers, and they actually occupy the exact same space, the exact same side of the court. And I think there's a difference of personality there, too, that you need to keep a close eye on to. Both of them still not trying to wish for each other's success. I'm just throwing that out there. But that's what I see. And when you have two guys trying to be 20-plus scorers a game, I think that issue is going to take away from the other players, including Emmanuel Quickley. And thanks for the shout-out for all these less familiar players. We had two Kentucky guards last night, 12 and 16 rebounds. What's going on?
We'll get to another Kentucky guard once we get over to the Miami Heat game, as Tyler Hero is proving people wrong again. All right, we're going to close out on the Knicks and Hawks takes here with Bonkai, and if Mikey also wants to hop in with a final take, we're going to give it to Mikey as well. We'll go first to Bonkai. Bonkai, final take on the Knicks, 60 seconds.
Yeah, I actually agreed 100% with what Jay was saying about RJ and Randall. The thing is, you realize who the head coach is, right? This guy is extremely rigid and set on his ways. It seems like he doesn't think on the fly, and he's not willing to adjust. And it's not going to happen while he's here. It's not. And also, the Knicks offense is very I'm struggling with the word, but it's disgusting. They barely
putrid.
Run plays.
Were you trying to say putrid?
Putrid. For some reason, I struggle. Give me a horn for that. Whatever.
No. There's words I struggle with, like mercilessly.
Yeah.
Oh, it kills me, man. Kills me. Keep going.
It happens, but yeah. Have you seen the playbook? I mean, the plays that we run basically look the same over and over again. I don't doubt that the Knicks only have maybe like 4 or 5 plays. Thibodeau is not a good offensive coach. He doesn't even have anybody on the coaching staff that can help him with that. So,
and some sad news. One of the things that I took away also from this game, this might be Derrick Rose's last year.
Yeah, I don't know if it's because he's coming back from the ankle surgery and maybe he needs a little more time. But yeah, he hasn't been looking too good. He's looking like Father Time is finally caught up to him. I hope it's just the ankle injury because we kind of need him. You know what I mean?
Let me get Mikey in here. Mikey, last word on the Hawks.
All right. Yeah. So to begin the season, we've played mostly under 500 teams, and now we begin a stretch of the next 10 games against the Pelicans, the Bucks, the Jazz, Philly twice, Milwaukee, Boston, Toronto, Cleveland, and Sacramento. So these next 10 games, besides the Sacramento game and I guess you could maybe say the Utah game, but they're playing well right now. So these next 10 games are really going to be a test for the Hawks. So it was great to get a momentum win, a statement win like this from how we were down 23, and hopefully we can carry the momentum into this tough schedule.
All right, appreciate it. Up next, we're going to talk Sixers real quick with L. L, we do ask that you shoot a follow. We'll follow back. As a Sixers fan, I have been on a wonderful journey in my life. I remember when we won 10 games. I remember when I saw a 6'10", 250-pound point guard refuse to dunk on a 5'10", 150-pound point guard. And I have seen the greatness of Doc Rivers, and I have seen the not greatness of Doc Rivers. Where are you as a Sixers fan?
When have Doc Rivers really been great?
Well, I would say,
I think
again,
he's been lucky.
Two seasons that he's had a losing season his entirety of the career.
I think he's been lucky. The talent he's been blessed with has been crazy. And to only show one ring for it, I think he destroyed the Clippers that year in the bubble. They can say what they want. He was, he was the reason. He definitely broke Ben Simmons' confidence. People like to blame Embiid, but Embiid's like that even on himself. But Doc Rivers should have been fired after the Hawks series. Like game 1 after the Hawks series, I was furious. So I've been done with Doc. When we hired him, I said, "Oh, great, we'll lose in the second round," and we just keep losing in the second round. So yeah, I'm done with Doc Rivers. He's mediocre. He's below average. He's like, I don't know why they put him in this great level of coaching. He's not that. So that's kind of where I stand on Doc.
All right. Anything that you want to see the Sixers do differently?
I think Tobias should come off the bench.
I can see that. I would rather have PJ off the bench, but I can see Tobias coming off the bench.
But Tobias can kind of create his own shot more. So it's just like we have no bench production. So just put him on the bench, kind of like the Lakers did Russ. There's just too many hands in there. And he can actually be more productive because he's a really good player, but he just get shrunk behind, so much scoring behind Maxey, Harden, and Embiid. And I mean, he can thrive in the second unit. I think so. So I would like to see him do that, but I don't think it's going to change until we get a new coach. I think Doc is kind of worn his welcome out in Philly.
Yeah, I can see a little bit of that. I can also see that Daryl Morey is done too. Like this is the last year. If this doesn't work, I don't see him returning either.
I think he'll stay as long as Harden's there. I'm really proud of Harden. I'm not gonna lie. I think our main core guys is great. And that's why we've been playing so well. But the rest, I don't know. We got a lot to work on. Because I think NBA is this is probably the best NBA I have seen in almost 20 years.
Yeah, no, I would agree with that. Hopefully you shoot a follow back so you can come in. We're here every Monday through Friday. I got to hit this button because it's time to do another read, ladies and gentlemen. Appreciate it, L. Ladies and gentlemen, we are brought to you by slamgoods.com. Head over to slamgoods.com. Use promo code HoopSpaces. You can save 15% off of your entire purchase. And as I'm doing this read, we were talking with Donald yesterday. Most of these reads that I do, I don't write out any longer. I try to challenge myself here to give you something authentic. And like the coolest thing that Slam Goods has right now, right, is this hoodie. I actually opened it up and I put it on yesterday. I'll take a picture, I guess, to show you. It's the oh man, it's not even coming up on my computer right now, so I can share it. But anyway, I've said this before. We're in hoodie season, and if she ain't wearing your hoodie, fellas, like it's almost a matter of time before you are replaced. And it's because your hoodies are bad. So make sure you pick up one of these high quality hoodies. They have one called Slam to the World. It's currently on sale. They also just released a kind of hilarious thing. PSD and Slam Magazine has teamed together to make the PSD Rip Mag underwear. So they took the covers from all of the magazines and have now designed men's and women's undergarments. Like, it's hilarious. Bonkai, your hand is up for some reason. What you got?
Yeah, question to you two Sixer fans. If you had to bet, who gets fired first, Doc Rivers or Thibodeau?
Thibodeau.
Yeah, I'm still on Thibodeau. There's just, like, for the Sixers, like, if you fire him, you have Sam Cassell, but the issue is health with the Sixers. The issue with the Knicks is just bad coaching.
Yeah, I actually like Frank Vogel though. I don't think Frank is as bad as people think. I think he was dealt a really bad hand in LA. Clearly, it was a really bad hand that he dealt with. But I think he could work out with the Sixers.
Maybe. I'm higher on Frank Vogel. I'm higher on Frank Vogel than most people. The issue that I have with Frank in the Sixers is he's not the coach I would want with Joel Embiid. That's just it. Also, hey, they got a resupply, ladies and gentlemen. You better get in on it now. The Victor Wembanyama T-shirt is back. They sold out in under 20 minutes when they released the first Slam Tee of Victor Wembanyama. So if you are wanting to go all in on this phenom, get your copy or get your T-shirt now. Otherwise, you're probably going to sell out by the end of the week. $40 right now. If you use promo code HoopSpaces, you would save $6 at $6. That's a latte. It's a lot of money. All right. Up next, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to talk some Cavs. If you caught the Cavs game, we'll get a quick refresh as we're getting more people in. We want to say thank you for making any part of your day part of Hoop Spaces. The Cleveland Cavaliers moved to 6-1, ladies and gentlemen. They do it in convincing fashion. And Darius Garland's return, 114-113 in overtime. They look dangerous. And even Jason Tatum gave credit to the dynamic duo of guards in his post-game comments, saying that they're going to be a problem. Up next, though, Miami Heat are now 4-5. Coach Eric Spoelstra shares top 15 coach of all time with Doc Rivers. They win on a game winner by Tyler Hero, ladies and gentlemen. 26 points, 12 boards, but the game winner with 0.3 seconds remaining. We will go to JFK first for a breakdown. We'll bring in Scott, a.k.a. Nothing But Heat. Good morning, everybody. Thank you for coming in. And please share the space. Let people know we're here every day, Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. To talk ball. JF, go ahead.
What's going on, Chris? So a little birdie told me that somebody was down here in South Florida for the Kings game last night. He's on Spaces, knows a lot about basketball. So shouts out to you, Chris, for making that trip down here and watch your team play against us. I don't know how that convo with you and Pat Riley went, but I'm pretty sure it went well. But yeah, going on to last night's game, look, Tyler Hero needs his respect, guys. He needs his respect. I don't want to hear him coming off the bench or whatnot. No, save the coming off the bench for our forward position where we really need some answers. Okay, Chris, we played with 8 guys last night. Majority of the people were in at least 29 or 25 minutes and above. Every time Duncan Robinson gets 15 minutes or plus, we win the game. Even though he had 4 points, it does not matter. Kyle Lowry had 22 points. Tyler Hero had 26, but he really had 16 going into the fourth quarter and then dropped 10 in the fourth quarter. And Bam had 20. Very, very normal looking night. The shooting was horrible. We only shot 32% from the 3-point compared to the Kings shooting about 36 from their 3-point. But Kevin Huerter, I don't know if they made a mistake giving him up in that ATL, but he's actually a really good player. They have a good, decent little team. I like Sabonis. Davion Mitchell is that dude. And Chris, the Miami Heat have now finally beat a team with Malik Monk on it. So it took a while, but we got there. So it was the first step of the game, Chris. I love it. This is what Spoelstra has now been undefeated since his 52nd birthday. So I'll take that, Chris. Appreciate it.
Right, Miami Heat 4-5 in the same boat record-wise as the Philadelphia 76ers. And if you actually look at it, similarly, their top player in Jimmy Butler versus the top player of Philadelphia, like the guys the teams are building around. An interesting conversation we had when I said yesterday, or 2 days ago, is it time to move Jimmy Butler, and understand like that wasn't an immediate reaction. That was, is this the end of this generation of Miami Heat? And I asked that because I've been absolutely thoroughly impressed by the play of Tyler Hero and Bam Adebayo, that I just think it's time to focus on them to get them ready to lead the Heat. That's my thought. I want to hear Scott's thoughts. That's AKA Nothing But Heat, founder and creator of the Inclusion brand, straight Kentucky bourbon whiskey. Make sure if you are in Kentucky, you pick up a bottle and support, because we are about supporting everybody. We're about equity and inclusion. So, Scott, whenever you're ready, come on in, bro.
Hey, Chris, thank you. I just want to make a couple of quick points. The Heat have been struggling a little bit finding their identity, but the one identity they have to have, actually, there's two identities the Heat have to have in order to get through this with a shortened bench. And last night, I think we were missing 3 and 4 rotation players. Jimmy Butler was out. But as you can see, when you play a basketball game, you have to maximize whatever talent you have out on the floor. And the only way you can maximize that talent is by playing the basketball game with elite intensity. And last night we played with intensity I haven't seen for a while. And we actually rotated the ball, we moved, and we executed the game down in the last 5 minutes. It's not typical that Bo will call a timeout to get substitutes in the game, but last night, without Wim, he actually called a timeout around the 9-minute mark, got Caleb Martin, got Tyler Harrell back in the game, and before you knew it, we had Caleb, and we had Tyler, and we had Bam to provide the energy. And of course, Lowry played one of his best games this year. And I just thought last night to myself, I know it's load management, or maybe there was a slight injury to Jimmy Butler, but I actually believe with all my heart that was a calculated move to allow the other players to gain their confidence, to shine and be able to perform and execute in a game like this. And I believe Bo had full and total faith in the lineup that he had. Now, the one question was Strus to move back into the starting lineup? Was Duncan Robinson, was he going to be a fortified spot in the rotation? I just think the Heat play game to game with a different game plan, and they kind of root for each other's success, and they try to bring out the best in each player at any given time. So for me right now, I still think the Heat need that 4 spot. That's the final piece that makes them a legit contender. Right now, we're just playing for the season to get to that trade deadline.
Yeah, I think they are playing to the trade deadline. I think that Pat Riley knew in the offseason, once PJ Tucker was gone and they were pretty much hamstrung cap-wise, that the trade deadline was going to be what their offseason is. And to that effect, I do want to ask you, Scott, and JFK, and Tony, who's down below, who's a great follow, Tony Schwartz, NBA. Make sure you follow him as he starts to rise and ascend at 5 Reasons Sports. The question I have regarding the Miami Heat, do they believe in Victor Oladipo? Is he going to be healthy? If not, they have a huge hole. How are they going to fix it? We'll go to JF first and then Scott.
Dan, Chris, you would hit me with that question. Man, that's a tough question because this is actually a serious injury that Oladipo's been dealing with, and he has shown spurts in the playoffs last year that he can come off the bench and play that role. Look, he bet on himself with this contract. He could have went anywhere else, but he bet on himself to stay with the Miami Heat. So I think that's one of our main issues is people like to compare Tyler Hero coming off the bench, and they just don't understand that we don't have Oladipo. So for you to say something like that, that means that we just missing certain pieces when it comes to health. Again, Jimmy didn't play. Omar's still out. See, the tough thing is, Chris, I would love for Depot to be healthy so he can get his minutes in before the trade deadline. Because the way it's looking like, I told you again, Duncan Robinson is rising his value every single game that they win. And it may not, he doesn't even have to score that much, Chris, but, his game has just changed completely. So I think Pat Riley is just trying to raise the value of these guys, and it's tough because I would love for Depot to play, and I believe if Depot does play, you'll definitely see him being a good pair, either next to Hero or Gabe Vincent. Um, in that case, but yeah, he needs to be healthy, Chris. And I don't know, I don't know if it's Woj or somebody, but they said that it might be a little bit longer to expect him to come back. But I hope he comes back by next week, Chris.
I hope so too. I put a tweet out there like, is he ever going to come back? Because at this point, I'm getting worried that he's only going to come back to leave again. And I'm sad by that because I've seen him live enough times. Phenomenal player when he was healthy, and he is exactly what the Miami Heat need. Scott, what are your thoughts on Victor Oladipo? And I don't buy the Duncan Robinson trade value, but I know others in Heat Nation do. What are your thoughts, Scott?
I'm just gonna, I'm not at liberty to share all the information I know on Daipo, but I will say this: he's not truly dealing with a new injury. He's still dealing with the old injury, and that old injury is still putting pressure on the other leg, and that's what you're seeing. So they're being extra cautious. You have to look at someone's medical history to see, what the risks are for another injury, perhaps ending someone's career and making it difficult for them to ever reach that level again. And I don't think the Heat are going to risk that. And I don't think Daipo should risk that either. So I think they're being very diligent and very deliberate about bringing Daipo back. But you can bet one thing, Daipo's doing everything he can to get his ass back on the court. The guy loves the game. He loves his teammate. He wants to be out there. But, at the same point, you're talking about someone's livelihood. And Daipo has this very deep love for the game, and he wants to be on the court. But, the risk factors involved in certain types of injuries from the past can limit you from getting back on the court just because of the risk, not the fact he can't be on the court. It's just the risk factor, if that makes sense. So, yeah. And one more thing. While everybody else is talking about bad coaching or coaching causing losses or what have you, I'll tell you this much. The Miami Heat doesn't have that problem. Spoelstra is unbelievable. His game plan, his ability to get the players to click together, and now he's getting players to actually fucking buy in. And if that can continue to happen, and we can get through the season above 500, maybe 5 or 6 games above 500, when that trade deadline comes and we get a certain player, I would love to have Jared Vanderbilt on that team. Fuck, I can watch the Miami Heat and Kentucky Wildcats at the fucking same time. And Jared Vanderbilt feels the bill at that 4 spot, a guy that can just block shots, alter shots at the rim, help Bam get out and defend the perimeter and so forth. If we were able to get a guy in that mode, the Heat will be serious contenders. And I'm not here just trying to hype. I'm just here saying we are one piece away.
Well, you better go ahead and prepare yourself for that wonderful Trey Lyles trade, because that's what's coming your way.
It's not a bad trade, Chris. Not a bad one. He actually looked good last night.
Look, he'd be the perfect 4 next to Bam. Shout out down below, ladies and gentlemen. We are halfway through. It's too loud, Sam. Too loud. We are halfway through the show. I want to say thank you to everybody coming through. Up next, we're going to get some Raptors agenda going as they drop 43 plus on the Spurs. But first, we're going to talk about a game that nobody watched, and that was the Bulls and Hornets. And in fact, nobody watched it because it was the Bulls and Hornets. The Bulls won 106. The Hornets lost. They had 88. And, it was a bad game. I watched the offensive possessions after watching the first 10 minutes of the first quarter. Chicago pulled away in the second and third and fourth. It's bad in Charlotte. They don't have LaMelo Ball. They don't have Terry Rozier. They are relying on Kelly Oubre, Gordon Hayward, and Dennis Smith Jr. to form some type of cognizant offense. The opening defense has melted away from Steve Clifford's team, and they are definitely looking up in the standings. And I don't see them recovering and pulling out anything, which is a shame. And I think that shows, bad team roster construction. We'll go to L first, and then we'll bring in Sam as the resident Chicago Bulls fan to hype up his team, which didn't even look good in the win. Go ahead, L.
I actually think what they're doing is kind of tanking. They're just not trying to put it out there. But I think everyone's trying to be competitively tanking because everyone knows this phenom that's about to come. So why not go for him? Like, the only team that's like looking bad but not trying to tank is the Lakers. Because, I mean, even if they could, it's pointless. You know what I mean? They won't even have the pick. But I think if you pair Victor with Ball next year, if Michael Jordan can possibly pull off that and get that for number one pick, that'd be amazing. So I think it might be a possible tank.
It could be. Wouldn't be hard. Wouldn't be hard. It's rough out here on these streets in the Eastern Conference.
Yeah, I think a lot of teams are keeping a lot of players behind purposely. Like, they're holding back. They could probably do a little more, but they're holding back. I think on Victor Oladipo, I think because his back to him, he's not. They're not holding him back. He's actually hurt. Him, Kawhi. I don't even think they should play until like 10 games before the playoffs. But those teams like Hornets, they tanking. I already know they're tanking.
The Chicago Bulls were saved last night by a combination of Goran Dragic, Javonte Green, and Patrick Williams. In fact, if it wasn't for those three players, the Chicago Bulls would have shot 22%. And yet, Sam's going to come up and tell us why we should be worried and concerned that the Bulls are about to go on a major win streak. Sam, good morning.
Why, brother? Like, I thought you loved me, man.
I do.
I was not finna come up here and tell you how we was about to go on this miraculous run. I was just gonna say, like, my team is more confusing right now than yes, is it a win? I accept it. Okay, no problem. Was it a win against a bad team? Did we look terrible in the win? Yeah, you take what you can get sometimes. I still don't understand who the team is. I still don't understand exactly what they're doing. Roster construction and some of the players that are on the team, like, I just don't understand the direction and the focus of what's happening right now. You know, is Zach straight? Is he not? You know, are we low managing him? Like, Chicago, just on the local side and Chicago media, is like, they're extremely confused. Like, what's going on with Lonzo? It's still cagey about that. So, like, one day Vooch show up, the next day Vooch is, a church mouse. So it's just like, it's really difficult to just kind of gauge. And some teams that you would think that would be, heads and shoulders above where they are, aren't, like, Brooklyn, et cetera, et cetera. We already know what's going on with that. So no need to pile on to that conversation.
Ben Simmons.
We won that game against Brooklyn, but we were supposed to win because they're not having a good season. So just looking at everything in its totality, I'm just like, okay, well, in an Eastern Conference that's kind of wide open, that nobody's really outside of Milwaukee kind of like asserted themselves. And yes, Cleveland is looking, like I already told you at the beginning of the season that they were going to look. Like, it's a lot of room there that could be had for the Bulls, et cetera, to make it really competitive. But I just don't believe in the product I'm looking at right now. I just don't.
And to give some disheartening news on Lonzo Ball, the injury that he's actually now dealing with is an injury that predated the meniscus tear that cost him the playoffs in the beginning of the season. And as someone who's torn his meniscus, I'm telling you now, the amount of time he's been out is not normal. And I had already said this in some of the off-season spaces, the fact that the moment they said he's not going to be available for training camp in the start of the season, I said they need to shut him down. Like, if Lonzo Ball wants a chance at a healthy end to his season, I honestly believe Lonzo Ball does not need to play the game of basketball this year. And I say that, and it's heartbreaking for me. It's been a love-hate relationship with Lonzo for me. I didn't think he was the hype that he was coming out in the draft, but I did think that he was a prodigious two-way point guard. And I really dislike not seeing a player live up to what their ultimate talent is because they're injured. And this is what's happened now. So if he is this injured, which I haven't seen anything to tell me otherwise, I think they should sit him out. Like even Shams is putting out stuff like quote confidence that he returns in the 2022 season. I have zero confidence, and not only do I have zero confidence, I have 100% confidence that I am actually writing this. And if the Bulls want Lonzo and Lonzo wants Lonzo to play healthy, sit him out. It's okay. Like Ayo Dosunmu is doing a fantastic job in his stead. Maybe they can get a better piece than Alex Caruso offensively. Maybe Goran Dragic does hold up for the whole season. I don't know. But you're getting ready to enter in a tough stretch of games for the Bulls. And this is why I know that you are up and ready for it, because you are here to tell us that over the next 6 games, the Bulls will beat the Celtics, the Raptors twice, the Pelicans twice, and the Nuggets. Tell me I'm wrong, Sam.
You keep setting me up with the trick bag, and I appreciate it, man. But like this next stretch of games is definitely going to be difficult for us. But at the same time, we're still one of those tricky teams where on any given night, just like the other night when, Levine just scored 20 points in the fourth quarter, where we have some of those players where some of those things can necessarily happen, and you can just have an explosion that can just get you over the hump, even though the actual game itself in its entirety doesn't look like it has a flow or it has any rhyme or reason to it. So, like, am I going to tell you for sure that we're going to lose 4 out of these next 6 games? Absolutely not, because it's one of those things where DeRozan can go off and, so like it's just, but that don't really tell me exactly the identity of the team, because on any given night, there's nobody that you can actually rely on that's going to be able to just say this and this and this is definitely going to happen no matter what, no matter the circumstances or who's guarding them, et cetera, et cetera. Like Vooch may have 24 and 12. But then you might have Drummond that turns around and gives you 15 and 9 because he just felt like playing that night. It's like it's just so up in the air that you just have no confidence of what's going to show up. So the prediction, I can't even ride that wave, man. I'm just going to watch the games as I can. And hopefully at the end of the game, I'm just as surprised as y'all may be.
Hey, you know what? A lot of people ask, are the Bulls fraudulent? And in this sense, they're not. They're going to be a team who will be around 500, but if they do get healthy, are going to be able to challenge for a top 6 seed, I think. Drummond is really fast becoming the most important piece because he provides a rebounding advantage for the second unit. The second unit, I also think, needs to be improved. Anything you want to see Billy Donovan and the front office do?
Well, the tough thing is I don't really know what you can do without giving up one of the pieces that you really like. So, like, I really love Ayo, but in order to get better at that position, you kind of like need to include him in whatever you're gonna do. Nobody's taking a whiff on Goran. Nobody's taking a whiff on Caruso because he's still battling injury, and everybody sees him just as a defensive energy guy. So, like with the players that we actually have, that I would suggest move. Pat Williams and gave you enough to even figure out what he is, and Javonte Green is just streaky at best. Like for him to be our best player last night was a shock to me, but at the same time, like yeah, he's athletic, but I don't see anything that he does amazing that will get us something that'll take some of the edge off of what it is that we're working with. But we need a floor general, man. We need somebody that has the cachet to come in at the trade deadline and tell these guys where they need to be that they respect, because it's like Zach takes the ball, then DeRozan takes the ball, then Zach wants it again, and then Vooch is out of the rotation for like 5-6 plays. And then Vooch is like, okay, well, now I want to get back into the flow of things. So it's like nobody's really getting into a flow that can command and say like, no, move this around and we're going to move this way. Alonzo, it gave us the quickness to be able to get up and down the floor, but we don't have that because nobody else has the vision that he has to be able to orchestrate what that looks like.
Oh, great answer. I like that. I actually think there is a player that could come if he's bought out. And that's Derrick Rose if he's healthy. And that's assuming the Knicks aren't in contention as well. Appreciate it, Sam. We got Logan the Foot up here as well. Logan, are you here to talk Bulls Hornets real quick? Or are you trying to talk about something else?
Yeah, what's up, guys? I just want to talk real quick about the Bulls. So I feel a little differently. I'm not too concerned about that. It's not a great win yesterday, but the bench this year compared to last year is much improved, and that's why you're going to see, I think, a little more consistent play from the Bulls. Because, like you said, Dragic and Drummond have surprised me. They've been huge off the bench. Drummond didn't play last night, but Dragic holding down the second unit, playing point guard is something we didn't have last year at all. A point guard like that to facilitate and score. And then Javonte Green has even gotten better. He's now not a starter. He's now a bench player, which has bolstered our bench even further. The four guys off the bench that are huge is Dragic, Caruso, Drummond, Green. Those guys have been real consistent. And a lot of time, if you look at the Bulls plus minus, the Bulls bench is third in net rating for the all the NBA for the bench. So that's going to give the Bulls a good floor, I think. I think it's encouraging that you can get a win without LaVine, DeRozan, or Vooch having great nights. So I think there's good signs because last year it was a lot of DeRozan carrying, LaVine carrying, and I think we got some relief now. So I'm not too concerned about the downplay of them last night at all. And Patrick Williams has been also better too, steadily improving each game. So I'm encouraged by last night.
All right. Appreciate it. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a statement by Commissioner Adam Silver. Quote, Kyrie Irving made a reckless decision to post a link to a film containing deeply offensive anti-Semitic material. While we appreciate the fact that he agreed to work with the Brooklyn Nets and the Anti-Defamation League to combat anti-Semitism and other forms of discrimination, I am disappointed that he has not offered an unqualified apology and more specifically denounced the vile and harmful content contained in the film he chose to publicize. I will be meeting with Kyrie in person in the next week to discuss this situation. The key word, ladies and gentlemen, in that statement is publicize. If you remember, Nick Friedel of ESPN got into it with Kyrie on a post-game presser. I don't believe Nick was right in the way he handled it, but I also do not believe that Kyrie Irving was right in the way he handled it. And I say this because Kyrie made a statement of, did I promote this or not? And the issue is, yes, you did, because you publicized it. If you didn't publicize it, we wouldn't be talking about it. Because you are Kyrie Irving and have millions of fans and followers, anything you publicize can be construed as a public endorsement. And in fact, if you look at all these famous people and even non-famous people who have jobs that are important, oftentimes in their bio, they will say, retweet, quote tweet, not an endorsement, to avoid instances just like this. Now, will he be suspended? I don't know. That's the poll that I'm going to get up there. We'll talk about it real quick around the room. 60 seconds. We'll go with Bankai. We will end with the women in the room with Elle and Jess, and then we'll transition over to this whopping 43-point victory by the Toronto Raptors. Bankai, keep it quick. 60 seconds.
Yeah, this guy should absolutely get suspended. I don't know why he hasn't been suspended yet. To me, and I don't care if it's a popular take, I don't care if people hate it. To me, he's just Kanye Jr. that can dribble a basketball, to be honest. I don't care. It's just an idiot.
Jay, the Wakanda text for you. Got anything?
About the Raptors?
No, we're talking Kyrie and the statement that Adam Silver just put out.
Listen, man, I'm tired of quote-unquote free thinkers talking the same white supremacy prison talking points. I am sick of that. I respect Kyrie trying to educate himself, but do that privately like the rest of the 99% of us do. And then have an accountability circle as well. And that's the thing Kyrie has been against his entire career, is accountability. And if you're going to educate yourself, you got to be held accountable for it. Who are you getting your information from? Are you fact checking? You know, like that's what college teaches you, or is it supposed to? And that's I'm I'm disgusted by Kyrie's lack of understanding how information versus truth versus facts work. There's a lot of information. There's a lot of data out there. That doesn't mean it's good data. I mean, I'm just tired of it. That's a different space.
Yeah, no, it is, and I appreciate you not diving down, anymore in it. I want to give a big shout out to Sandy, who's coming up here. Sandy Side Up, one of the lovely women on the Femme Fatale podcast, Dishes and Dimes. We'll get her thoughts in this as well. Sam, 60 seconds.
I can't even and I won't even get into the stuff that he said, but the thing that I noticed the most about everything that you just read is how pissed Adam Silver is, because he usually comes off very diplomatic, but you can just read between the words, and like one of the words that just stood out to me was vile. Like I can't even remember him saying something that strongly about a stance. So like you can just tell even behind the language that he's using, even being as diplomatic as he needs to be in his position, how upset he is. And he's like, I'm meeting with him personally to get this thing squashed. So like I like the fact that it's gonna get handled, and it's gonna get handled harshly, because the stance that he took, even in not understanding what he was doing, or completely understanding in what Kyrie was doing. Like Kyrie started this fire, so at this point you just got to deal with the burn, period. But I'm glad that Adam Silver stood out in the way that he did, and he probably took a minute to simmer down his words, because he was probably way hotter than everything that was officially released. But just in hearing that, he's pissed. Period.
Yeah, I agree. He's definitely not happy. We'll go JFK, 60 seconds. Go.
I ain't gonna lie, Chris. I might have an unpopular opinion, but look, I had to sit around 4 years with Donald Trump on Twitter. This Kyrie thing doesn't bother me because he didn't say anything. He just posted something. And I want to see the statement Adam Silver said about Robert Sarver and everything he's done. It just needs to be going both ways on the street. You gonna suspend Kyrie? Should have been doing something about Robert Sarver a long time ago, before people started questioning him about it. That's all I got to say, Chris.
All right, you're not the only one who's had that exact same statement. A lot of people see a duality here, and they don't think it's fair. Micah, anything? 60 seconds. Go.
Man, talking about keeping that same energy, not just as far as Robert Sarver, I gotta say it. Like, as horrendous as any form of racism is, and I don't agree with it at all, can we keep this same energy towards how these women are being treated? Like, it's just, to me, it's gross. Like, we're gonna come out all about anything that's against race, but it's cool to hire these dudes and support these dudes that are out here being straight predators and acting like it's not happening. But with this issue, we're gonna, be just off the chain with it.
Yeah, no. In fact, that's why I'm closing with Jess and now Sandy as well, because Jess and I had a conversation about this just yesterday that I was going to get into after we talk Raptors. But I guess we can do this now. We'll go to Jess. Jess, we talked yesterday, and to be honest, I have zero response, right? Because like you are 100% right in our conversation. With the reports that Ime Udoka is expected to be the head coach of the Brooklyn Nets after what transpired in Boston, which, by the way, we still don't publicly know the entire story, coupled now with other instances of misogyny that has been essentially allowed to exist within the league, tying in now with anti-Semitism. Does the NBA have a loss of institutional control issue? Like, what as a woman and a fan do you see this league do that makes you confident that they are being the progressive league that we all want them to be?
Yeah, no, I think as the years go on, Chris, it's definitely harder and harder to be a woman who loves the game of basketball, who wants to talk about the game of basketball, who wants to follow it closely, from the Rashawn Holmes news to the Miles Bridges news to now Ime and just the overall dumpster fire of what's happening in Brooklyn. I don't know if I love or I hate that we're teeing off this conversation to jump into my Raptors conversation, because these two organizations are very clearly moving in opposite directions. Thank God for the North Side. That looks much better in terms of culture, in terms of coaching, and in terms of personnel. But to me, and again, that's not to say the Raptors are not without their own issues and their own problems for sure. But I think, this Kyrie conversation and this Ime conversation, I just can't see it ending well. Like, to throw into the gumbo of, Kyrie being accused of like promoting anti-Semitic and just really weird, untrue things about the world, about what's happening from the pandemic and the way he treated the vaccine to now what's going on. To throw into that mix of potential sexual deviant and harasser, and try to make it a basketball argument, I think it's going to be very messy. And mark my words, I would not be surprised that if Ime does sign on that dotted line, the Celtics or the women who are involved or somebody with insider information continues to leak further what actually happened with the Celtics, and then the Brooklyn Nets look like a real shit show. I think it's a bad decision with Sam Cassell right there, with Sarver. With Quinn Snyder right there. Like, I think it's a weird choice to make. 2 weeks from the Boston Celtics saying you cannot play basketball anymore, here comes Brooklyn to put their hand up to sign this guy. I think it's a mess, and I can't see it ending well. And my hope is that Adam Silver actually steps up and makes the NBA look like the moral high ground when compared to the NFL, like he always likes to act like it is, because it's definitely a shame right now.
I agree 100%. Elle, hop in here.
I 1000% agree with what she said. But I also think that when it came to Kyrie, I think it was a little blown. I think it was an overreaction by the reporter. Not overreaction, but I think that he gave attention to it that no one was paying attention to. Not really, not to that degree. And I think the back and forth was the problem that people have with it. And I think the NBA fake outrage is more obvious because everyone's like, "Oh, Kyrie's an idiot. Kyrie's this. Kyrie's that." But if we're just taking that instance, Kyrie only mistake was not putting like, "What do you guys think?" over the video, because we have all posted something that we may not have agreed with the person who said it, or we were just kind of curious about something. I think that idea is just laughable. Like that the promotion part was kind of weird. Maybe he was questioning something and he put it out there for feedback. But then they want to talk to him. Adam Silver, he have no leg to stand on when you allow the Nets to hire who they hired. Like it don't really make sense. So that's kind of my take on it.
All right, I agree. And it's not just the Ime Udoka hire. There's other coaches who have been rehired time and time again with issues. So it's one of these things, like whatever sport you are in, whatever country you are in, this happens.
It's
right?
a fake outrage. Whenever you get too much attention on something, now they feel like, oh, we got to step in. And no, they should not suspend him. Like I don't think you can.
Right.
I mean, you can, but you shouldn't.
Yeah, I think you can. I whether he should or not is the question. And I think what ends up happening is, if he is suspended, it's actually another black eye to this Brooklyn Nets front office, who still don't have a PR person. Like they are kicking their own ass. They are shooting themselves in the foot day in and day out, and it's just putrid. Sandy, hop in here. Ladies and gentlemen, make sure you shoot Sandy a follow, a part of the Dishes and Dimes crew, the best femme fatale podcast covering the NBA, WNBA, all things basketball and pop culture. Sandy, good morning. Thank you for coming up.
Hey, okay, so I definitely agree with the women that have spoken. I think what's missing in this conversation is nuance. Like, if the NBA really was Black and really interacted with these players beyond, what, their stats and their physical attributes. They'd know that there are fractions of the Black community that believe the things that Kyrie believes, right? And in the Black community, we either ignore them, we call them out. But I think in terms of this conversation, there is an interesting conversation to be had about how white Jewish people have been able to assimilate to whiteness and gain some kind of what's the word?
I don't know.
Do not have the opportunity to do, right? Like we
Proximity
cannot assimilate to
privilege.
Yeah,
That's
privilege
what
would
you're
be the
looking
word.
for.
We cannot assimilate to whiteness and use that to our advantage the way that many parts of the Jewish community have been able to do. And so I think there's an us versus them aspect to that maybe Kyrie is trying to work through. And if there were people who had nuance and were able to really connect with the Black community, who covered these Black players, they would have been able to ask him that question, like, where is this stemming from? Why do you believe that? So there's that. And then on top of it, for me, there's a vast difference between the way that the NBA treats anti-Blackness and the way that the NBA is treating anti-Semitism, right? Adam Silver was very stern about the way that he talked about this whole situation and how unhappy he was about it. But when Masai was being attacked by a police officer and there was video evidence of him being attacked by a police officer, he said, oh, we have to look at the evidence. And the evidence was fucking in front of his face, right? You have a predominantly Black league. You guys do not know how to talk to these Black players. They feel like they're essentially being controlled, right? You have owners that can be racist and misogynistic for 17 years, and you guys don't have diddly squat shit to say about it. But then when he, and it's a wrong opinion. I'm not saying it's a correct opinion, but if there were people there who actually interacted with these players on a level besides what they offer for their fucking team, maybe they would have been able to have an actual conversation about where Kyrie was coming from, right or wrong, because there is a conversation to be had, right? And that's where this whole thing is pissing me off, because it's like, you guys, misogyny is fine. Anti-Blackness is absolutely fine. Y'all put Black Lives Matter on the fucking hardwood for 5 seconds, thought it was put some education logo on the fucking t-shirts and thought you did some shit. But, he said something that maybe was like not right. Maybe there could have been a conversation to be had. And all of a sudden you have all these stern things to say. He should be suspended, all this fucking bullshit. Get out of my face with it. Like, I don't buy it. And I think this is a conversation to be had about how the media interacts with these Black players. The fact that they don't actually talk to them with any kind of nuance, don't really get to know them. It's a paycheck for them. And that's pretty much all I have to say about that.
Can I say something about? I'm gonna just piggyback on what she was basically saying. She was absolutely right, and I think the problem with the whole thing, and I think why there's an uproar is because Kyrie posted something, immediately the media member attacked him instantly. So it just came off so bad. Instead of just kind of like asking like a more sincere way to put it. Like, they already don't respect Kyrie because they just think he's like kooky or whatever. But I think Kyrie is intelligent enough to articulate what he really wanted to say. But it just came off so disrespectful the way the question was asked, that I think it just blew everything out of proportion. Now, I'm not saying everything Kyrie do or does is perfect, but if we just take that moment, I think it was treated unfairly. I personally do.
Yeah, no,
I agree. Like, and I'll just say, like, just to jump off of that, like, I do think that Nick Friedel in a presser trying to have a moment that's shitty. Like, that's stupid, Nick. Like, you could have asked that question in a way that could have drawn out something more nuanced from Kyrie, as opposed to like attacking him like that. That was stupid. That was dumb. Like, again, Nick was very clearly trying to have a moment. And again, I will say, like, I think part of the frustration with Kyrie is like, you could clearly see maybe there's like a pattern of the way that he's approached many of these topics over the years that make that nuance harder to find, and especially if we don't have Black men and women in those rooms trying to engage him in that way, like Sandy is saying. I do think that there's a gap there, and it's a shame that, like, in this era with his talent, knowing what he can do on the floor, it just seems so overshadowed by some of these missteps. Like when you think about what he's doing with the indigenous community, like there's still so much good in Kyrie. It's just a shame that like his approach around some of these topics has been kind of I don't know, just it's been like placed the way that it is in the conversation around the culture and overshadowed by some of the good that he's doing. And yeah, I don't know, you can't have things like Nick Sarver or Robert Sarver kind of like coming out of the ether as like this terrible person, and then a lot of the misogynistic issues and concerns happening around the league, and this being the moment that Adam Silver wants to puff out his chest. Like I do agree that is weird. Like we need some sort of like we need, you know, to have the same energy kept around all of these issues and topics. Not to say that what Kyrie did is right. Like I said in my first, you know, opening the statement, like Kyrie's an idiot sometimes, like just straight up point blank period. He's been an idiot for a couple of years now. But I do agree that there's clearly gaps in how we're approaching this, and like an over 80% Black league, we should be able to do a little bit better. I do agree.
Yeah, I think Kyrie, I really think it's been I don't know if y'all can see it, but the shift honestly happened like after Kobe died. I didn't realize how close him and Kobe really was, but after that, it seemed like he's just been a different person. So I think that has a lot to do with it. Because Kobe probably could have talked him out of this. Like,
I mean, I don't want to
see done.
infantilize him either, right?
Chris,
Yeah.
all I hear is excuse making for Kyrie. To be
It's
honest,
not excuses. It's just the fact
it's
that like
excuse making for
it's
this
not.
guy.
It's that moment, and we're talking that situation. And I'm not saying everything he said has been perfect. I thought that the situation right before the bubble was reckless. I thought his handling of the season was reckless. I mean, the whole trying to fake an injury, like to have surgery to get traded, was reckless.
My issue is that the one thing no one really talks about in regards to Kyrie is that at some point, when do we say it's his fault? And
thank you.
The question. Well, no. I mean, in everything, right? Like we have created this duality of Kyrie where we allow him to continually make a decision and not face consequences. And now he's to the point where he's making decisions and now has to face consequences. But he just gone through 10 years of making decisions without getting any consequences. And my question is, when do we just say, okay, look, Kai, you are phenomenal. We love what you're doing for X, Y, and Z. But you, regardless of whether Nick Friedel, and I think he was absolutely dead wrong, was right or not, you can't act out in ignorance and say, hey, I wasn't doing this. I didn't do this when you did it. Like you can say I did it and I did not realize how this would come across. I'm apologizing. And like that starts like a discussion. But he literally just said, I didn't do that, but he did it. And he's used this excuse more than once. And I think what we're coming to is a point with Kai where it's just like either you're in or you're not. And the question I have is, does he even really want to play? Because basketball in the NBA is not just showing up and dribbling and shooting. It takes work, practice, travel, team functions, media functions, community functions. It is a 24/7 gig. All eyes are always on you. And now he hit something that struck a nerve with the people who pay him or the people who basically run the league and the owners. And like, I hate being stuck in the middle because honestly, neither side is right. They're both wrong. Like, and how do we navigate that? That's my next question.
Chris, look at all the excuses that have been made for Kanye West, and where did that lead up to? Now where did that lead up to? And it's the same thing with Kyrie. Excuse after excuse after excuse with this guy. Own up to it and stop giving this man excuses because he's really good at basketball and because he's very popular with the kids now. Like, enough. Like, how many times are we going to say, oh, well, it was that, or it was this, or it was that? You're letting him get away with it. Like, you just stop. Enough.
But I don't think they're letting him.
I mean, the difference between him and Kanye is that
it's a vast
Kyrie
difference.
actually does things for the Black community, And so I'm willing to give him a little bit more leeway than I am a Kanye. Because
Yeah, Kanye, they're not the same.
there's a difference there.
It's also just a messy parallel because Kanye is bipolar, right?
Very.
Like what Kanye needs to do is like sit down and get help. I understand your point about excuses being made for both of them. I just don't like comparing the two of them because they're two very different situations.
I also don't compare them because we are judging on an instant. And if you compare judging on an instant and you try to create an equitable comparison, you actually do a disservice to those who are affected, right? So, like, if we are trying to equate Kanye and Kyrie in this argument, like, we are actually furthering that type of negative discourse. I got hands up. I want to clear them. We're into the third hour. We'll keep on this Kyrie topic because we've got hands up, but we're going to get back to basketball. I promise. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for coming through. I'm going to go ahead, hit this button. I'm going to mute your mic real quick, Al. Got to get this read in. Ladies and gentlemen, if you head over to slamgoods.com, you'll be able to actually pick up this Victor Wembanyama shirt, and it's sold out almost immediately, and it's $40. But if you use promo code HoopSpaces, you'll actually save 15%, which is $6 off your entire purchase. And if you are like me and you believe that Victor Wembanyama is the best prospect since LeBron James, you might want to go ahead and pick it up. Because if you do pick it up and let's say you happen to get it autographed, you could frame it and put it up on your wall and have a lifetime memory, which would have only cost you $34 because you used promo code HoopSpaces over at slamgoods.com to save 15% off of the Victor Wembanyama t-shirt. Yeah, there you go. We are currently talking Kyrie Irving, and unfortunately, we even have more negative news in the world of the NBA, and please bear with me because I dislike this, but this is something we will also not be able to avoid. Joshua Primo, formerly of the San Antonio Spurs, was released in the beginning of the week. I was not allowed to say, and I'm still actually not allowed to say everything that I knew about it. I said, at the time, like, it's going to get worse. We're talking to Deshaun Watson. And yes, ladies and gentlemen, we are here. Primo is now being accused of exposing himself to the team's psychologist. That coming out in the press conference. And if there's one, there's more. Like this is how this works. There's never just one. And this is really, really disheartening because if you read the tweet, apparently, she went to the Spurs. We just talked about this right just 5 minutes before that tweet posted. We just talked about this with Ime Udoka possibly being hired by Brooklyn. Here we have another instance where a female employee or contractor felt assaulted and then went right to the top. And you know what? They asked for her to keep seeing him. Like, just bad all around. And I'm not going to lie, some of the group chats I'm in, they're starting to question, is Pop gone because of this? This is not the way I expected the tail end of Pop's career to kind of fall out, but we might be looking at it. Hey, if you want to add in something, raise your hand. It's a hard day. I appreciate everybody's courtesy, decorum, and professionalism as we talk these sensitive subjects. I am going to go to the women first, though. I'm going to bring Danny D in. She has yet to speak. Danny D, you can talk on what we talked about with Kai, Ime, or now, unfortunately, the San Antonio Spurs and Joshua Primo.
All right. Good morning. I'm at work. If you hear some construction, I'm on the balcony of my little office. So I try to sneak. Anyway, it's a tightrope when you run a league. And it's easy to sit here and say, be fair and concise with everybody, but you have to go on a case-by-case situation. Adam Silver is running an organization where he deals with billionaire, spoiled brat, rich people, and he has to also deal with running a league that's predominantly black. At the same time, as black people, we tend to try to cover our black people because of years of oppression and things like that, and we tend to give them a pass instead of trying to be objective at times. I'm gonna make a lot of people mad with this. Kyrie's an idiot. He's been an idiot for years. He was an idiot in Cleveland. He's an idiot now. He thinks he's smarter than everybody else, and he's not. And when you think you're smarter than everybody else, it tends to get you in trouble, and then you put your hands up. So I'm not going to defend him. Yeah, he might do some nice things for some nice people, for people once in a while, but that don't take from him being a dick, and that's just the real part of it. At the end of the day, so we got to stop giving people excuses at times. And if we're going to hold it, and the thing about the whole thing with Udoka, I'm conflicted because one part, he deserve, like everybody else, you deserve to make a living. At the same time, should he be punished? Obviously, he should be punished for it, and the Celtics did it in a weird way. The NBA didn't, so he has a right to get another job, just like everybody else. We may not like it. It is what it is. You could choose to do what you want to do with your viewership at that point. If you don't like it, you don't have to cheer for that team. You could wish for the worst for them and see where it falls. I'm just to the point now where I am. It is what it is. I can't control, but only what I do. What I pray is the energy that we put into fussing about equality and stuff like this. I hope many of you put that same energy when it comes time to vote. Many of us have elections, and some of us still have early voting, and make your voice heard that way. As much energy as we put into sports, probably not gonna make nobody happy with that comment either. But it is. I don't give a damn.
We try not to do politics.
I try to do politics, but I'm leave it there. That's why I'm gonna drop a bomb here. But I'm enjoying the conversation. But Kyrie needs to be handled. It's certain things we know you shouldn't talk about if you don't truly understand it. I went on a rant yesterday with my mama about stuff like this, and I'm not going to do it here. But at the end of the day, which Chris always makes fun of me for saying, but other people say it, but he don't give them problems with saying.
Well, that's because you say at the end of the day, literally at the beginning of the day, the middle of the day,
that's
2/3
right.
through the day.
That's right, Chris.
It's you know what? I had to talk with my son. He says literally a lot, and I have to explain to him. There are terms and phrases that you should avoid at the end of the day, and literally are two of them.
It's more of a pregnant pause without pausing.
I know you didn't just use that as an excuse.
Yes, but that's what it is for me, because I'm trying to keep my thoughts aligned, and sometimes I'm at work, so I'm trying to be sneaky and respectful at the same time. It's like I said, it's hard. You have to treat every case differently. We can't say lump and say, well, you got to treat this case the same way. It doesn't work that way. It doesn't work in the court of law. You have to look at it, sit back, weigh the pros and the cons, and then make a decision. A decision is not going to work for everybody how you feel everybody should be treated, but everybody can't be treated the same way. Because if you have siblings, you understand your parents not going to punish y'all the same way. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. You have to treat every case by case situation differently. I hope that makes sense, because it's hard as a woman, as a black person, as a good person in general, trying to survive in this world with a whole bunch of people with whole different personalities and different perspectives. You have to try to find a balance that you can live with at the end of the day.
Right.
There you go.
At the end of the day,
if it makes sense. When you lay your head down at night, you have to be okay with the judgments and decisions that you make. Is that better, Chris?
That's better.
Okay.
It's a lot better. Give yourself a point.
But if it makes sense to you, I hope it does.
No, look, don't worry about it making too much sense. Like what I woke up this morning, dealing with what I had to deal with yesterday and this morning to make sure my son is situated. I was hoping to get distracted by some great basketball talk. And like I have a friend who is in that world of executives in the NBA. He's a former exec, and he's like, I'm tired. I'm done. Like, I can't believe that we are allowing a handful of people who are players and executives to essentially run roughshod and not really care about what people are saying as fans and consumers. If you look up top, you can see that the title has changed. The mood has also changed. The NBA is in damage control mode with the news coming out of San Antonio, as well as the news from yesterday coming out of Brooklyn. And now with the news also coming out of the league office, it's insanity. It's absolutely insanity. And you know what? There are no right answers. There are no right opinions. There's only thoughts. We are here in a forum to be able to discuss these thoughts. And I want to say thank you for all of you who are up here sharing, because to be honest, this is a subject matter that can be triggering to some. So we do apologize in advance, but also it can be contentious. And every single one of you have been able to come up and share your opinion and not interrupt and allow everybody to finish. And honestly, I'm going to give you guys a round of applause and all of you points because that's not easy to do. It's not. This is a very contentious and emotionally charged subject. And I just want to say again, thank you for being awesome. We're going to clear some of these hands up. We have people down below who also want to get up. Beyond and Amara, I'm going to get you two up next.
You can move me, Chris. You can move me down, let somebody else up. That's all I had to say. I'll go in the comment box.
Appreciate it, Danny. Saged Alvarez, ladies and gentlemen. Saged Up is up here as well. He's just joined us. Sandy from Dishes and Dimes is up here. Bankai, Jay the Wakandan. We have Sam, Jess, JF Cake. Danny's about to go, and at the end of the day, we miss her. But we are happy that she's bounced back in Texas with that wonderful job that she's got there. We got our newest addition to the morning crew here in L, a dope 76ers fan. And we also have basketball Benny. Let me give you guys and gals a quick reset. Originally, we were talking hoops. Unfortunately, life kind of pushes us in directions sometimes we don't want to go. I do want to give a round of applause, ladies and gentlemen, a round of applause to one Patrick Beverly, who earned the Tony Snell Award of the night last night. That is right. Patrick Beverly, your Tony Snell Award winner. The dude played a lot of minutes and did a lot of nothing. Literally played a lot of minutes and did a lot of nothing. And they still won. Like, it's absolutely hilarious. So shout out to Patrick Beverly. Last night, 27 minutes, 0 points. 2 turnovers, 4 rebounds, 3 assists. There you go. Your Tony Snell Award winner. We will now clear some of these hands up, do a reset. Bankai, 60 seconds, go.
Yeah, just with that whole Primo stuff coming out, it makes you wonder just how many other stories there is going on around the league. That's kind of scary. Not kind of, very scary to think about. And about Patrick Beverly, you're wrong. He did do stuff. He gave all the rah-rah speeches and the, clapping and hitting the floor, so he did do something.
All right. Yeah. He did. He did do something. You are absolutely
That's
right.
qualified as something.
I apologize. He did do something positive. And we are here about positivity. Jay the Wakanda Tech Support, you got anything positive to say about Patrick Beverly? And go ahead and give yourself 60 seconds to get your thoughts in here about the Joshua Primo, or really just the damage control of the league at this point, which is now run amok with, rampant misogyny and sexual assault, apparently.
I appreciate Pat Bev setting the defensive intensity bar for the Lakers, and even LeBron is actually rotating on defense, which makes a difference. That does permeate through a squad and makes everybody want to do their job with the required discipline and urgency necessary to play winning basketball. So I applaud Patrick Beverly for that. But going back to the Kyrie situation and the next organization as a whole, there's no accountability, and you can't win a championship with no accountability, and it starts at the top. And so all the situations with the Nets, whether it's the MA situation, whether it's the Kyrie situation, whether it's the KD saying, I really don't want to be a leader, I just want to hoop, there's no accountability as a culture in that organization. And it's not a coincidence that Brooklyn finds itself in the storm that it finds itself in. Kyrie does think he's the smartest guy in the room. And
he has an arrogance that, because, like, yes, he's done wonderful things for indigenous people, but he also demanded that he stay on the reservation without having his COVID vaccination when they asked him not to, right? And so with Kyrie, I wish he would do what J.R. Smith did. Like, J.R. Smith is on a journey of self-improvement. He went to North Carolina A&T. He's joined the golf team. He's putting himself in an environment to grow and learn. And I have no issues with Kyrie wanting to grow and learn as an NBA basketball player. But there are online courses. And like, but the thing is, if you enroll in an online course, there's a professor, there's an institution holding you accountable. And that is what Kyrie has bucked against his entire career since I've known him as this 19-year-old phenom coming out of Duke. And with the Spurs, I just I'm disappointed. Um, and there's a lot to get into because, like, Josh Primo is 19, but you're doing an adult job, and so I think the conversation we need to have before we get to Josh Primo is: do we still want to let teenagers in the league? Because what you're saying about Kyrie is that the NBA should have some sort of mechanism within it where they're educating Kyrie. That's not the NBA's job. That's what the NCAA is for. So if we want our players to be better educated, to be better cultured, to be better adults in this adult job, maybe they should do 2 years in college. Maybe they should do 2 years in college or 2 years in the G League where they have to get an associate's degree. But it's not Adam Silver's job, it's not any of the 30 owners' job to make their players better people. It's nice if they do it, it is applauded if they do it, but that's not their job. That is the player's job, that is their family's job, that is their camp's job. And we have to have a really honest conversation about who is responsible for what, who is accountable for what. And that's that. Like I said, Chris, we probably should do a different space about this. um but yeah, nah, like, I don't do excuses, and maybe it's because I had three uncles in the military. But like, either you get the job done or you didn't, either you did the right thing or you didn't. I'm not here for excuses.
All right. Appreciate it, Jay. Up next, Sam, 60 seconds. Go.
I mean, just looking at everything, like I'm actually glad that everything that in the Spurs is coming out because these things aren't new. These issues and these situations that have happened have been behind closed doors and behind locked walls and all of these different things. So now in the space of social media, it can come out. Even if it doesn't come out through the organization, it can get the proper light and the proper conversation that's necessary. The thing that I don't understand is like why we just keep giving people passes on any level. Like we all know and we've all had friends where you just got that one friend that's just that guy. He can do a whole lot of great stuff, but he ain't the guy that you want to hang out with because at some point in the night he gonna say something stupid, he gonna offend somebody, he gonna rub somebody the wrong way, and it's just gonna ruin the night. So at a certain point, like I get that Kyrie may do all of these different things and might be a part of all of these different situations. I get that Ime Udoka may be this amazing whatever, coach, et cetera, et cetera. But like if you're the guy that's always doing these things, if you're the guy that constantly gets caught in these situations, then you're just that guy, period. And that's on personal accountability. Like Kyrie don't always have to be the one to say something that rubs somebody the wrong way. That's a personal choice. Like you can tread the line, you can understand what to say, what not to say, and when to say it, and how to do things, et cetera, even if you want to be a free thinker, because a part of being a free thinker is also a part of being a person that knows the situation and the temperature in the room and when not to say certain things to get the maximum effect. So like I'm not giving anybody a pass, but I'm just looking at the situation from its totality, and we just keep giving everybody passes based off of what their celebrity is. But then at the same time, certain folks that you just hang out in your life with, whether it was in high school, whether it was in college, whether it's professional, you just know certain times like, yo, oh, it's 2 a.m, I got to get away from this guy. Oh, it's, we going to this spot, I can't take this person here. Or we doing a family function, they don't work well in these situations. So how we just turn blind eyes and don't understand how to associate people with what they're doing based off of what it is that they do in other situations. It just don't make sense.
All right, appreciate it, Sam. And just to let everybody know, I'm going to finish with Jess and L so they get the last word. I'm going to clear out the remainder of the hands and get everybody's thoughts, and then we're going to try to move on to a couple other points of view here. JF, you're next. 60 seconds, then Benny, then Beyond the Locker Room, and then we'll talk to the wonderful Mango Cosmonaut.
Yeah, the funny thing is, as you can see it clearly in the NBA and the NFL, the commissioner doesn't have any control over owners, but they will strut their power over players for
Well,
sure, for sure.
to like, we can't do that. They work for the owners. They don't have power over the owners. We cannot say that it's a duality, that they would do this to the players and not the owners. They have zero power to do anything to owners. Zero power.
Exactly, Chris. That's what I'm trying to say. So when you look at it, it's hard to even say anything to an owner because of the massive amount of money he has. That's why it always takes long to get these owners out. I mean, Chris, to just point on this Kyrie situation, Kyrie been saying stupid things for the longest. But is that going to stop me from watching him play basketball? Hell no. When he said the earth was flat, did I stop watching him play basketball? Hell no. When KD, Kyrie, and Harden teamed up, did I stop watching him? No. I did not stop watching Kyrie. And a tweet that has zero context behind it is not going to make me stop watching him. What I think, you know what? I agree 1,000% with Sandy and what she was saying. They need to do more into helping these players out transition from wherever they came from to a more professional way. I mean, shit. If you really want to keep it real all the time as a player, just take a page from Marshawn Lynch's book. You get what I'm saying? He knows how to talk to reporters. He knows how to ignore reporters. So when that reporter asked Kyrie that question, Kyrie should have just ignored his ass. And I'm pretty sure, Chris, it would not have been anything at all. But you know what? Like any time a player has to speak out or wants to speak out about something, he always gets backlash. And to be honest, Chris, this looks like another Colin Kaepernick situation. And I hope that Kyrie doesn't get suspended. He needs to keep on playing because we missed way too much of him last year from a situation that the NBA didn't handle properly, which is the COVID vaccines. Appreciate it, Chris.
All right. I appreciate you. We're going to go to Benny. Then we got the Mango Cosmonaut, Beyond the Locker Room, Sage Alvarez, and then we're going to close with L and Jess. Go ahead, Benny. What's up?
Hey, so I kind of think about this whole Kyrie thing and even the Josh Primo thing in kind of like a class framework, I guess, because when Kyrie is talking about when he's like tweeting out like basically like Holocaust denial propaganda, which is what that like Amazon Prime documentary was, he's getting mad at 0.1% of the population in America who are functionally no different from the rest of the white capitalists that he's been around as a player in the NBA. And I think this comes down to, I think it should be the NBA, like the Players Association's responsibility for these players to understand who they are as a worker and where they like stand, because the Players Association is, I would assume, one of the most powerful, or at least one of the most influential unions in America, right? Like they they provide an insane amount of revenue. And when people are getting mad at when people are creating and propagating anti-Semitic propaganda, these are all like very meticulous pipelines that I know for certain, just because I've like seen this on the internet, can be led from alternative spirituality and alternative medicine, some things that we've seen Kyrie talk about a lot. And this can happen very fast and like very unnoticeably. And I think it falls on the Players Association for even people like Josh Primo to understand their role transitioning into a professional environment as a worker. And that's the same thing with Kyrie, because if you understand that there is no Jewish power structure and that this is just the same capitalist power structure that you're operating with, and this is just a straw man designed for you to look away from the real issues, I think people will be a lot better off.
All right, appreciate it, Benny. Up next, we'll go to the Beyond the Locker Room. Go ahead, Beyond. You got 60 seconds.
I'll just say I would just kind of just tweet your thing about crisis in the NBA. I think this is pretty much a self-inflicted wounds as far as I'm concerned. I've seen the NBA in full crisis mode. You know, that's like Malice in the Palace stuff. I don't think this is at this level, or even some of the drugs that were spreading through the 80s and stuff like that. To me, this is self-inflicted wounds across the board. First, I'll start with Kyrie. As Jada Wakandan said earlier, he kind of took some of my smoke on this case, but I completely agree with on this point. This is nothing new with Kyrie. Nothing new. From the time he came into the league, people forget in this case here, he wanted to do things his way with Dion Waiters and that whole shebang. And what happened? He got what he wanted. Waiters was out the door. You keep moving down. The only time that Kyrie has actually been tethered where, you could say in this case here, it was kind of like him being whatever you want to call normal in this case here. I know that's a bit subjective, but that's the best word I can think of at the moment. Is 3 years with LeBron. That's it. That's the only time. Any single situation before and after, it's been this in some form on the court or off the court. And as folks have already said, the fact is he thinks he's the smartest guy in the room, and you can't tell him nothing to take a rapper song. I won't just leave it at that. Can't tell him nothing. And then to move up the ladder, the Nets. I never thought I could see an organization be as bad at managing a team since the Clippers of the 80s and 90s. I didn't think that was possible. But my gosh, they're looking to kind of take the award. I don't understand how Sean Marks still has a job. I don't know, Joe Tsai in this case been sleeping. I don't know what they're doing, because if you had suspended Kyrie for 2 games and got this thing sorted out with the ADL and stuff like that from time, this probably been moved on in this case here. But no, not the Nets. We're gonna let things just ride. Just keep on doing what we're doing, because we're the Nets. Time and time again, just letting folks do whatever they want. Last year, we're going to talk tough about Kyrie. He won't play in this case since he won't take the vaccine. And the moment a little crack happened, what happened? Well, we will start playing him on the road games. Like they never hold anything firm for anyone. So they have no credibility.
All right, appreciate it. Oh, well, 60s is up. I'm trying to get this in by the 30. Cool. I'll come back on the back end if we have some extra time.
All right, man. Sorry.
Up next is Amara La Scientista, who is Estudiante de Matemáticas. What's up? Appreciate you coming up. Your thoughts, 60 seconds.
Hey, good morning, everyone. I just kind of wanted to echo everybody's sentiments. I think all of you had really good thoughts on the matter. I just kind of feel like I kind of like the one person who is kind of trying to talk about it from the perspective of, I guess, class. But in the sense of it seems like it doesn't matter if it's the NFL or the NBA. The more money and the more power you have around people or a group of people, the harder it is to, I guess, bring them in and kind of, talk to them about their behavior. I'm reminded of the Washington football team, about how it came out that things got so bad that I believe the cheerleaders were being trafficked, or they had their passports taken because they were forced into these very precarious situations by management. And I was just kind of thinking about that, the Ime Udoka situation, and especially when you get higher up in an organization or when you're dealing with people who are very highly salaried, it's just very hard to hold them accountable, I feel like. And I also kind of want to remind that accountability also requires consent, both from the offender and the people who were offended. With Kyrie, as somebody said, it's kind of hard to have him admit that he was wrong and, try to understand that you've harmed somebody or some people. And so, as long as Kyrie feels like he's the smartest guy in the room and feels like, what I'm saying is correct, and I don't feel particularly sorry about what I'm saying, he's going to continue to offend. And I think also a lot of this is boiling over from the vaccine situation. He decided to sit out and kind of leave his team hanging. And also, visiting a Native American reservation unvaccinated, even though Native Americans have done their part and above and beyond to get the community vaccinated, because obviously they're more at risk for COVID. So I just kind of feel like, league wide, doesn't matter what Kyrie does. It feels like the patience is wearing thin for him. I would say, myself included. I just kind of feel like, does everything have to be a controversy? And I feel like finally it was very responsible for him to share that documentary, especially as Alex Jones has faced repercussions for his, I guess, continued harassment of, Sandy Hook victims and all that. I just kind of feel like, we could be a little bit more sensitive, when we talk about victims of all these kind of like power structures and stuff. And yeah,
All right.
thank you.
Appreciate it. Sage Alvarez was going to go next. He might be able to pop back. He had a meeting. We will go to L next. L, your thoughts and take, and then we got Jess coming up.
I definitely don't want it to come off like I'm like condoning what he did, definitely. And I don't think I'm giving him excuses. I'm just kind of stating obvious. I thought the reporter handling was the worst part. And I'm not talking about the past. We're talking about this one incident. And that's the kind of thing I want to stress. We're talking about this one incident where I felt Kyrie was kind of railroaded. And I think he was also irresponsible in his handling of the situation. But I think the whole Nets organization, from Kevin Durant to Kyrie, I don't think they actually understand that they're leaders even when they don't want to be, because of their platform, because of their talent and their skill and their money. They're leaders no matter what. So I think Kyrie didn't do his due diligence on the way he relayed the message. If he would have said, "What is your opinion about this?" or something like that, it would have been fine. I think he could have handled the question better. He immediately got defensive. I think some onus is on the reporter as well. But I also heard, like, with the Spurs situation, if we're saying like a 19-year-old, he's young, he needs to know. I think that was just dead wrong. I think that's a worse situation in my opinion. And I also think that saying that players need to stay in the league 2 years, maybe, or stay in the NCAA for 2 years, that's just race baiting to me, because basketball is primarily black. So it's just saying like they don't mature well enough. But we have too many incidents where very mature players came straight out of the NBA. I mean, straight to the NBA from high school. I think it's more of a personal issue more than a broad issue as they're immature. Because 19, you're not that immature. You know enough where you should not do that. A 15-year-old knows that. So I think that situation is more severe to me.
There is no middle ground here. The biggest problem that I see is if you look at almost every job position, almost all of them have a minimum requirement amount, right? Like you got to have this. Like, for instance, the Brooklyn Nets are hiring for a PR coordinator. Like they prefer a bachelor's degree, but you probably have to have a minimum of associates. They prefer that you have, a lot of experience, but you have to have a minimum amount of experience. And the issue when you leave the coddled confines of amateur basketball into the professional confines of basketball, you can lose in translation what you are expected to gain within that gap period between amateurism and professionalism. Now, this splinters also into how the NCAA is, and I don't want to go down that rabbit hole. That is its own rabbit hole. But if you take the basic understanding that there tends to be a time, specifically in young males' lives, doesn't matter the race, that they are more susceptible to impulsive decision making. What's really being stated is perhaps the NBA needs to create a gap program so that when the players come in, they have another avenue to become mentally, emotionally, and physically ready to compete in this sport. I don't think it's intended to be race baiting. I think it's intended to say there's an obvious problem. This is a solution that I think might work, as opposed to race baiting. But I understand
I
how
don't think it's an
it can be
obvious
seen.
problem, though. I don't see how it's obvious that The players come in. If you put a gap, now are we saying that they should have classes, have courses, financial education with so much money thrown their way? I agree. They definitely should have that. But I don't think we can look at it with a broad spectrum and say, you know what, the players are immature that's coming out. Let's make them all wait until they're 20. When, I mean, look at LeBron. He's going to pass the record because he came straight out of high school. Kobe, he came straight out.
Yeah, but you're not mentioning Corleone Young. You're not mentioning Darius Miles.
They all was young, but if you
right,
take,
like
they all came out of high school.
like
But you're taking away years of their career.
well, no, you're taking away years of NBA playing
That's the
time.
point. They
Like,
only go to half of them only go to college to play basketball. Half of them can't do anything other than play basketball.
well, more than half,
Yeah,
and more than half don't
everyone
make
who
the
goes
league.
to the NBA basically only went to college because of a scholarship or they're talented enough to play.
Yeah, but when you compare other sports, like they have a system that's structured for development. Like if you want to say Major League Baseball, you've got rookie ball. You've actually, before you even have rookie ball, you've got the summer games. Then you have rookie ball. You have the Cape Cod League. Then you have single A. Then you have double A. Then you have triple A. And then you have the pros. And like through that rigid, and I'm not overly a fan, but I do think it provides more jobs. I think it provides more avenues for players, and I think it provides a structure that allows you to have a consistent product. And I think what we have here is highlighting the worst part of the NBA. There's nothing to fall back on, and if there's nothing to fall back on, everything can be blamed. And that's what I'm saying. There's no right answer here.
I just
Like
think
there's
I think
zero.
the absolute worst answer is hold them back even longer, because I'm just looking at the actual career of a player, and if you would have took 2 years away from LeBron's career or 2 years from Kobe's career, statistically it changes things. It just does.
But they still have
They
a
have a
career.
career, but your legacy, your history. If they end up going to those leagues and end up getting hurt, it changes everything. The dynamic, like their goal is to make the
But
NBA.
how is that different from you getting in your car driving to work where you might get in
I
a
agree,
car?
but you're already under contract. You're already signed. But I mean, if you want
But
to know, the NBA has a
but you
development
have
league.
that same.
The one-
Well, yeah, no, I think they need to develop it even more. Like I think they need to have a professional minor league system.
Yeah, but I think
Like I
that's
think
only if you don't make the cut where you're barely NBA talent, but you're right on the cusp of it. I don't think forcing them to go to school because you think that their
I'm not
behavior,
saying forcing them to go to school. I'm not saying force them to
banning
go
them
to
from the
school.
league
Yeah.
for a certain amount of
And
years.
again, well, you're not
In a
banning
way,
them.
you are.
You're just not. You wouldn't be having them on the professional level. They would still technically be in the league. A player that plays in the G League is still in
But
the
why?
NBA
But if his talent dictates he's worthy of being in the league, why hold him back?
because sometimes the on the court talent needs to. Sometimes the on the court talent needs to be held back so the off the court talent catches up.
I
Like Kevin Porter Jr.
disagree.
Right? Like Kevin Porter Jr. almost got himself out this league. And now he just signed a contract extension and looks like he's going to be a mainstay in
Okay,
Houston.
take my favorite player for instance. He went to college. Allen Iverson. He went to college, and he still
'Cause he had to.
because he couldn't come. Well, they didn't know he was going to be that
He
good.
had
He
had to.
because he wasn't going to get drafted out of high school anyway. I don't think so.
At that point he had to. You had to go at least 1 year.
But even then, he still had craziness off the court even later in his career. So I don't.
Oh,
he went
I
to
know.
college.
I know that again, I'm not using college. I'm using age and time. I don't care about college. College is not for everybody. You don't go to college and become mature.
I don't think
You become mature over
I
time.
don't think necessarily age mature you either. Like
Well,
I mean, with time,
that's the only.
LeBron James is one of the most.
That's age.
LeBron is one of the most mature guys we've seen. The only thing people say is how he handled the decision, which still gave the Boys and Girls Club $1 million. Kobe was quite mature.
Yeah. Again, you're highlighting the best.
But
you're not
majority
highlighting
of
the others.
But you're picking out a very few to judge all.
No. I am picking out a very few because you are picking out a very few.
I'm picking them all out.
Right?
That's what I'm saying. I'm saying in general, no one should. The NBA should just. I think they should go back to the straight out of high school. If you're talented enough to come out of high school, be my guest. If you can go to the military at 18, I don't see why you can't go to a professional league if your talent dictates that you're ready.
Again, I'm not disagreeing with you, right? My issue is how do we create a better structured league that benefits the majority of the players
so
that we don't continually run in? How?
But we can do that
because what you're saying is we keep it the same.
No.
But we're not taking it from them.
No. Okay,
See, that's the problem. Let me finish. Okay. If LeBron James were to come out and get drafted and he has the talent to make the professional league, he still makes the professional league. But if a player like Joshua Primo, who came out of Alabama at 19, that would give them another course to say he has talent to be in the league, but he needs development, either personal or professional. And that is what I'm trying to say. I'm not saying deny them access to the league. If their talent is there, let them go. If they're KG, cool. But the issue is there's far more Corleone Youngs, Darius Miles, I'm blanking out, Lenny Cook, and there's a couple others that were just so bad. They were not ready mentally or maturity to play in the pros. I want to get Justin here and Saged up. We're almost running out of time. We'll get everybody's last takes. Appreciate it, L. Jess, hop up in here.
Yeah. Chris, my final thought before I have to head out is, I'm annoyed. It's been a rough morning. And I think this morning is a perfect microcosm of what it means to be a woman right now who's trying to love the game of basketball. Because about 45 minutes ago, Chris, I was queued up to give my Raptors some flowers, right? I was queued up to talk some basketball. It was going to be fun and messy and congratulate the Atlanta Hawks for posting bail and making it out of the jail that we had them in a couple of days ago. I was gonna have some fun, talking about the fact that DeJounte Murray, I know Trae Young got hurt yesterday, but DeJounte clearly made it out of Jurassic Park with his hands and with his limbs, and he's looking good now. So, that was gonna be what I wanted to talk about. Clearly, the Toronto Raptors, the best transition team in the NBA right now, converting points from turnovers. I was going to talk about the all-NBA dude, the budding superstar in Pascal Siakam, and the DPOY OG Anunoby, actually saying his full name, Oyunga Anunoby, with about 13 steals in 2 games. Like, that's crazy, right? I was going to come up here and have some fun. But, we got to talk about what's happening in the league right now. And I get robbed of having some of that fun because Josh Primo wants to be nasty, because the Brooklyn Nets want to be nasty, and because Kyrie doesn't want to just have some common sense in the league. And so, to me, I think the damage control is absolutely correct, and it's a mess, right? Because it is clear that the NBA has a race problem, like we've seen with some of the owners pop up in their nasty rhetoric, and they have a woman problem. And as a Black woman who sits squarely in the middle of both of those things, it doesn't feel great at all right now. And as a Canadian, I'm disappointed by Josh Primo. Like, we were looking at him as a budding star for Basketball Canada. He is from where I'm from. If folks don't know, he is Canadian. He is from Toronto. And it's a damn shame that this is what's happening. I'm seeing the statements from his attorney that is also nasty, to blame the psychologist for what's happening, for not coming out sooner, for whatever's going on over there is nasty business. And it is disappointing to see his career flame out like this. Or at the very least, now we have to hope that it somewhat flames out, because you can't expose yourself to a psychologist and probably many more and still play the game of basketball. Now, given the NBA's track record, maybe he will be a Brooklyn Net in a couple weeks. Who the hell knows? This is clearly what it's been looking like. So to me, that these are my final thoughts. Like, I hope that Adam Silver clearly takes a hard look at what's happening in the league, can stand behind the women who work within the NBA to make it a safer environment, to make it an environment where they won't have to fear being harassed, being assaulted, indecent exposure, all these crazy things that have come to light. It's a sad and disappointing day right now in the league, and I'm hoping that they make some changes, because it's pretty shitty right now, Chris.
I unfortunately have to agree with you, and I'm sorry. Let me, Bankai, put your hand down. Put your hand down. You don't need to put your hand up yet. Let me get Sage in here. He was able to come back after a meeting. I want to make sure he gets some time. And then I'm going to go ahead and let Elle get the last word in here, because I want to say thank you for allowing us to have a back and forth that I think was substantive for the people down below. Sage, appreciate you. Like, you came earlier and we were having a great time, and then news broke, and like life happens. We are now more on a somber note. As a coach who coaches different age groups in the game of basketball, I know you actually have to go through something similar that I go through called Safe Sport, and it seems something everybody should be able to do. But we get to this top level in the NBA, and it's just falling apart. What are your thoughts here before we go to Elle for the last word?
Yeah, it's like when I'm hearing about, like, you know, is it college that's going to fix the problem? Is it the owners that are going to implement different education to educate the players so these instances doesn't happen? I think it goes down to the root, and that goes down to helping them as kids, because we got to help them when they're at a younger age so they don't get to this point. And all we can do is try to prevent these type of situations. We're naming names, but how many people are like nameless because we can't even think of them because they never got to that level? There's so many. Like, we could talk about the few that LeBron James, honestly, one of the greatest human beings who had to deal with so much pressure at one of the youngest ages with the most media pressure to the date. Like, we're gonna bring up him. That's one of the perfect examples of someone who did it 100% right. And I guarantee you, those people are gonna be so rare. That's why he's gonna be one of the greatest of all time. He is already one of the greatest of all time. But we gotta talk about the players that aren't at that level, that used to come out when the high school, when you went pro, you're a pro. So if you don't get drafted, you going overseas, and it ain't pretty, because now you gotta go against real grown men in their late 20s, 30s, even in their 40s, strong as can be. They put food on their plate for their family. You are now 18 years old having to go overseas and play against grown men at that level, and they don't want to give up their spot. They could care less about an American coming over there. If we're talking about just Americans just going overseas, like you already have the odds against you, because there's already rules in place that you can only have a certain amount of Americans on per roster. So it's not as simple as people think it is. So we're going to let these kids go out in high school again, go straight to the NBA. I'm with that. There is some like LeBron James, guys that I believe there might be a committee that be able to allow those guys that we know can handle it. I don't know if that's necessarily the right formula, but in my case, if there's a guy like LeBron, we should have a certain case for him. But let's protect the players that are clearly out of their mind. We have agents that are clearly just trying to take advantage of kids that aren't ready to be a pro. Maybe they might be skill-wise, but like Chris said, there's a lot of players that aren't on the other side, ready to handle all the life happens. Like, you're not ready for the girls that are knocking on your door trying to sleep with you, because then they're going to take your other card and they're going to give it to someone else, and they rob you while you're away from your hotel room. They're not ready for a lot of these. They're going to get themselves into bad circumstances, and they're going to get themselves caught up. So we got to remember that how many of us are 18? We're ready to if you handed 18-year-old $4 or $5 million and you're going to have an NBA lifestyle, how many could handle it? Probably not that many. But these guys have no other choice, because they have to handle it. Even if they're skill-wise could be ready, are they mentally mature-wise? And think about this, most of those kids have been coddled up in their AAU coaches, because they're trying to make sure that kid is going to make them that money, because they know that they're connected. They're going to probably make some money off that kid. Like, there is a lot of people that make money off their kids in AAU. I mean, I've seen coaches flip deals with Nike, Adidas, Under Armour. I mean, it's the shoe company that really run the AAU stuff. So if Nike says I'm gonna throw you AAU coach $1 million, because I know if I probably associate myself with that guy that's with Nike, then I'm probably gonna get that player magically to sign with Nike. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot to it. There's a lot of money involved, and when there's a lot of money involved, and you're maybe like even from 12 years old, some of those kids see that money, and they're getting rotten. They're not mature enough to be like, handle. How many of us when we're 12, 13 know we're gonna make $1 million plus dollars and be able to handle that? And then the people around you are shady. You don't know who you can trust at that young of age. Some of these guys are 14, 15, 16, and you can get NIL deals. You can get NIL deals at 14 years old and make money in high school.
Yo, there's twins that are racking it up right now. They're like 12, and they're getting paid.
Exactly, bro.
It's
And now
crazy.
we're gonna get into even younger kids getting money. It's a new era, and all I can say is we gotta help the kids at an even younger age. And also remember this: NBA is a global game. Like, this game is global now. It's not just kids coming from the U.S. It's coming from international. It's only going to get bigger. It's only going to get harder to get in the league. And then now, are we going to educate the entire globe for the NBA? Is that the NBA owner's job? Is that whose job is that? Are we supposed to educate everyone in every country? I don't know necessarily, but all I can say is for what we could do individually, or what maybe the owners could do, is just keep helping the youth and keep putting more money into youth projects so we can help the kids at a younger age, because all we can do is once it gets to a certain age, there's too much influence for them to really be educated, and all we can do is kind of implement. Like, owners can do what the most they can is implement maybe educational in the contracts.
Which
I
they
don't know how
do.
much
They
they
do
already
it
do.
with the Players Association. It's
Yep,
actually written out in the
I'm
collective
literally
bargaining agreement.
I'm literally looking across. I'm looking at Pooh Richardson right now because we're about to go to a tournament today in San Diego, and that guy's a 10-year plus pro in the NBA. Like, that guy will tell you, like, right? He even talks about UCLA, how they're teaching them the game, and how they're trying to teach them like what happens on the outside of the court. So it even goes, and colleges have been doing it since he was at UCLA, and I'm sure they did it before when the John Wooden era. It's just, all we can do is help our communities out and help our youth game, because right now the youth game is controlled by shoes and money, and that's just the way it is, bro. And I'm here. I've been coaching AAU and coaching basketball for over 13 years now, and that's just how it is.
I feel you. I need to get one more person in before I get to Ellen. I want to say thank you, Sage. And also, if y'all want a show in the morning, you have a couple to choose from. JB Fortis, who comes in with JB's Rant, has the NBA NFL Now on at 8. Sage Alvarez has the 5150 Sports Show coming up. And if you're on the West Coast, like, he's your early riser. Make sure you shoot him a follow. He'll follow back. I want to make sure I get Daniel Artest in here because this is a personal experience in terms of playing professional basketball. DA, appreciate you. I am getting ready to close out. L's going to get the last word. I got time for like 90 seconds for you.
Yeah, I just want to push back on Sage when he was talking about the overseas thing. There's actually way more overseas spots than the NBA. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, I mean, I just don't understand why would you even say that? You know what I'm saying, brother? Like, you can pretty much play anywhere. Yeah, there's limited roster spots. Except for Europe doesn't have limited roster spots. China has 2 foreign players to a team. Depending on how good your team is, sometimes they allow you 3. You know what I mean? But if you play in the Euro League, it's basically unlimited. There's like 7, 8 Americans or foreign players on a squad or whatever like that. When I played in Germany, when I played in Greece, it was 6 of us. You know what I'm saying, on the same team that's foreign or whatever. But yeah, everything else, man, that's going on in the NBA, I just hope that, people that's talking about it and blasting everybody, I hope that y'all look at the skeletons in your closet before y'all go in and stuff, because we all do, before y'all blast a player publicly or whatever. I get it. Y'all frustrated and upset or whatever. Honestly, I do think that Josh Primo needs a lot of help, you know what I'm saying, as far as like, therapy and everything, because of what he's dealing with or whatever. Something definitely must have happened to him when he was a kid or whatever. As far as, Kyrie Irving, I think I understand where Kyrie is coming from, where how he speaks. Him being a New York City dude, myself being from New York City. If anybody else from New York City, and y'all ever walk through Brooklyn, Gates Avenue, where them Jewish neighborhoods be at and stuff, and how they be treating, blacks and stuff, trying to jump you for no reason when you walk into a store, walk into the train or a bus. It's kind of iffy, so I understand. And that's the teachings that us as black people in New York has learned, throughout time or whatever, that, whatever the original, Jews are, whether they black or whatever. Now, the whole Holocaust situation, we know the Holocaust actually happened. So he's definitely wrong for certain things, but I understand his talking points when he's explaining and everything and everything of that sort. It's just crazy times right now. But I just feel like, you know me, Chris, man. I just look at it from a different type of viewpoint all the time. That it just be a bunch of people that personally have their own issues that nobody really knows about, but they just going to talk about people because obviously their lives really don't matter in the grand scheme of things. That's just how I come with it, bro. But that's all I got to say.
All right, appreciate it. Want to thank Elle for coming up. She just, I think, randomly found the room, came up as a Philadelphia 76ers fan. I appreciate it. I'm going to give you the last word of the panelists, and I'm going to go ahead and close up shop. Elle, appreciate you. Go ahead.
Yeah, no problem. The conversation we're having was definitely something that the NBA should have. It's something to look for. It's something to look into. I'm looking at it on a standpoint as if we make them do something and make them go through courses to make sure they're mentally right, they're physically right. If I look at it like, if your talent says you're good enough to be in the NBA as a pro, go for it. Once you graduate high school, you should be able to go for it. And when it comes to like the money and the classes that the NBA, set up, that's great. But I don't think you should be like forced to go to like the D League for 2 years to develop more, because I don't think if we did something separate, I don't know if they would have the patience on something like Zion. Like, his injury was very severe, and I think taking away from time of the professional level is hurting them, because all they want to do is just build up their legacy, play basketball. But I do think we can't look at a few individuals and say all the, rookies, the 2 rookies and sophomores are reckless. I think that's kind of unfair to put it on that perspective.
All right. I can understand.
And it's the generational wealth thing. Like, I'm looking at it from the money standpoint and everything they can do for their family and friends and everything. And I just don't want to hold that part back from them.
Yeah, I don't either. In a free market system, if you are able to perform the labor, you should be able to get paid. And if you are a talented basketball player, you should be able to pursue that profession and passion. I've got zero qualms with that. The issue that I have is that we don't have a perfect system, but we tend to try to live as if we do. And that's really the issue, is in a world where you have to make sacrifices just to really live your life. The question is, should there be a sacrifice made by the NBA? And what is that sacrifice? And I think it comes down to power and control. And the NBA is either going to have to cede a little bit of power and control to the individual players for their rights as a citizen of this country, or a legal resident and employee in this country for some of the international players. But I also do believe that the league has a responsibility for social justice and action. All leagues do. And it's the same as saying Kyrie has culpability by promoting something or publicizing something because of his platform. It's the same. And the biggest issue the NBA is going to have is threading that needle. We've talked about it today. Like, how is Adam Silver going to have this conversation with Kyrie? Like, people are trying to say he should be. It's 50-50. Half the people say he should be suspended. Half the people say he shouldn't. And yet, if Adam Silver goes in there and does it, well, why didn't he do anything more for this player? Why didn't he do anything more for this executive? What about this owner? What about this coach? And then, that's why their NBA is in damage control mode, because there is no right move any longer. They didn't. And the killer part was they're not even at fault. It's the individual teams that weren't able to police their players, right? Put in metrics to protect their employees, double down and make sure that everything's getting done right. Like it's not an easy job, but that's why these people are supposed to be paid hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars. And like, we're not even talking about the players and the product on the floor. We're talking about executives. We're talking about the line workers who work the concession stand. We're talking about ticket sales reps. We're talking about doormen and women. We're talking about ushers. Like, at what point do we say there's a loss of institutional control? And I think we're getting there. Justin, you got literally 30 seconds to hit 1 o'clock. I got to get going. What you got?
Oh, I was just going to say, I mean, if people want to do anything about it, or if they want this to pretty much stop and, not put so much control in the NBA, then as a fan, you do what you're supposed to do. Don't show up. If you don't like what you see, don't go. If you don't like the shit that Kyrie is saying, don't. As a Brooklyn Nets fan, I'm not a Brooklyn Nets fan, but I'm saying if I was a Brooklyn Nets fan, I just wouldn't show up. Period. You know what I mean? Make a statement. If that's how you really feel. If not, carry the fuck on.
All right. There you go. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to hit this button. Put the music back on. I want to say thank you to everybody who's came through today. Man, we started off with hot basketball talk, and we ended it with the Spurs not doing the Spurs thing. Brooklyn, just a mess. And Adam Silver running around trying to contain what could be a black eye for his conservatorship of the NBA. I do want to say, though, we actually have basketball tonight, and I can't wait to get back to it. We actually didn't even talk about 4 of the games, but tonight it's only 2 games, so you're going to be able to tune in to both. Golden State and Orlando, 7 p.m., and on NBA TV, Denver and Oklahoma City, who apparently is not tanking at 4-3. Shout out to all of you. All of you have been dope. Appreciate it. It's tough work. It's tough talking about stuff like this. And we did it well. Thank you very much. See you tomorrow, 10 a.m. Peace out.